A warm welcome to all the students who are watching this session. Good afternoon, students. I am CA Shefali Jain,
I am CA Swati Agarwal.
and we both are faculty for indirect tax laws at Board of Studies. Today's session is for achieving success at CA exams, and this session is for Paper 3 Taxation, Section B, Goods and Services Tax. So in today's section, we'll focus on how you can enhance your chances of success in the examination by by speeding up your preparation for the examination and how you can achieve success through these process. So in today's session, we'll help you in trying you the techniques of memorizing the concepts or provisions of law, and we'll help you in knowing the applicability for the particular examination, what are the BoS publications which you have to refer for preparing for the exams, because you still have 42 days left for the examination to begin. So these 42 days is not a small time. You can still pep up your studies, you can still expedite your studies, and you can enhance your chances of achieving success in the examination. Only thing is that you need to have perseverance, dedication for the examination. Continue with the dedication with which you are working or you are preparing for the examination. You only need to add certain points, you only need to consider certain points while preparing for the examination. So make sure that whatever time has been left with you, you have to make best use of that. And today we'll tell you some of the practices or some of the techniques which you can use for preparing for the examination. So today's session will focus more on the preparation for the examination. We'll have one more session. So in that, we'll share the examination tips and how you can appear, what points you have to keep in mind while appearing for the examination. So today we'll focus more on preparation because this 1 month is more for focusing on the preparation part of the examination. So this way, you will move from better to best. Today, you are in a better position and you can move to the best. In today's session, we'll first of all know what is the applicable position of law for May 2024 examination, because in law and tax papers, you every attempt there is a different applicability of law which is there. So you should be conversant with that what is the position of law you have to study for the forthcoming examination. Second is understanding the question paper pattern. So if time permits, we'll take it at the end of the session, that what is the question paper pattern. Otherwise, we can take it subsequently. And we'll familiarize you with the section-wise weightages which are applicable for your examination, that which section of your syllabus carries how much weightage. We'll discuss the study guidelines. Study guidelines is a very interesting concept. It contains the topics which will not be tested in the examination. So if we talk about the indirect taxes or goods and services tax, they are covered in the syllabus, but due to considering their complexity, considering their, the amount which you have to prepare for them. So certain topics we have excluded from the syllabus, and we'll be discussing them also, because that I think will be most interesting part, Swati, because most of the students will be interested in knowing what we do not have to study. So before starting study, we want to know that let us be very clear that these are the topics we do not have to study. And then we'll tell you some memorizing techniques also, because sometimes students find it very difficult to memorize the concepts. They read the concepts, they practice the questions, but when it comes to the examination, they forget everything or they forget many concepts. So we'll discuss some of the memorizing techniques with you. Maybe they prove to be helpful to you during the examination. And most important is that we will revise the significant concepts of the substantive provisions today. Based on that, we'll take some MCQ quizzes also. In your study material, you have MCQ quizzes at relevant places. And during past 3-4 months, we have been constantly receiving so many queries regarding these MCQ quizzes. So I think many of you have doubts in them because they have very tricky issues, which makes your concepts very clear. So if you go through these MCQs religiously, you attempt them without seeing the answer first. So that is why we have not given it in the study material in the first place, so that you don't get tempted to see the answer. So you have to scan the QR code which is given at the end. But you have to first of all attempt it on your own, and then you have to see the answer. So students are finding it a bit difficult. So we'll try to discuss those MCQs where we have received many queries or more queries regarding the MCQs which we have received. We'll discuss those MCQs. Before that, we'll discuss the concept relating to that MCQ. Then we'll take that MCQ. And we'll take the amendments also relating to each chapter, because statutory update or the amendments pertaining to a particular examination is very, very important from the examination point of view. For taxation papers, the amendments have to be focused, or you have to pay special attention to the amendments, because sometimes two questions are asked based on the amendments in the examination. So you should know the latest position of law. And for that, you need to refer the statutory update. So we'll be updating you with each chapter, we'll update you with the amendments also, that what are the amendments which are applicable in that particular chapter. And so MCQ quizzes, I have already told you that we'll be discussing. So I request all of you to be with us throughout the session. And I can assure you that you will take lot many good things back through this session. It will definitely enhance your chances of achieving success in the examination and your preparation. You will feel more confident about some topics. You will know that how you can retain those topics at the time of examination, how you can reproduce them. Regarding exam tips, we'll discuss it in the next session. So Swati, will you apprise the students about the goods and services tax? What is the weightage? How much section-wise weightage is, how we have divided? So please apprise them about that.
Yeah. Students, this paper 3 taxation is of 100 marks. And this paper is divided into two sections. Section A, income tax, 50 marks. And section B, GST, goods and services tax. The weightage of section B, the point to note is that in this, from May 2024 examination onwards, the weightage of the section B has been enhanced owing to the, increased demand of goods and services tax, in the practical industry. So this paper, which earlier was of 40 marks, now the weightage has been enhanced to 50 marks. Now let's see the applicable position of law for May 2024 examination. Since it's a law paper, so every time the cutoff date applicable for the examination undergoes a change. So all those students, I will say, who have prepared, who might have appeared for November 23 examinations, they need to really focus upon it, that for May 24 examination, what all are the changes, what all is the position of law which has been changed for this May 24 examination. Finance Act 2023 plus notifications and circulars up to 31st October 2023 are applicable for May 24 examination. Now, one important point to note in this case is that, at the time of the study material was issued, the Finance Act 2023 amendments were not, they were not, they didn't come into, they were not notified. So for Finance Act 2023, all those amendments were given in a tabular form at the end of each chapter, wherever it was applicable. But for May 2024 examination, you need to keep in mind that you have to read all the amendments of FA. I will quote Finance Act FA. FA 2023, all the amendments which have been given in the table at the end of at the end of the chapters, wherever the amendments were there. So all those amendments which have been made by Finance Act 2023 have become applicable.
Yes, and you have to read all those amendments, because they have not yet been incorporated in the chapter, because at the time when study material was released, they were not effective. So afterwards they have become effective. They are applicable for your examination. And this is given in statutory update also. This information is given. So you have to keep in mind that whenever you are reading a chapter, you have to refer to all the Finance Act amendments which are given at the end of the chapter in tabular form. And before we proceed further, actually we are receiving some queries also from the students that Zoom link has not yet been shared. So let me inform you that Zoom link has been shared with all of you. What you have to do is, how can you access the Zoom link is, you have to go to BoS mobile app, and after that you have to go to notifications. So there the mobile link, the Zoom link is available. So please join Zoom link through that, and you can ask your queries through that Zoom link. Okay, and in fact, we can see students have started joining also through that Zoom link. So all of you who have not yet joined, they can join through the Zoom link. And we'll unmute you after some time, but please raise your hand before asking a query, so that there is no chaos and everybody can get their queries answered. So we will unmute you. You just raise your hand. We'll ask you to unmute yourself, and then we'll answer your query. You can ask your query and we'll answer that. So don't worry, everybody's query will be answered. Just you need to keep patience, and you need to raise your hand before asking a query. Yes, Swati, please proceed.
So any of the student who was not able to join earlier, I would like to repeat because this is the more important point, that for May 2024 examination, Finance Act 2023 is applicable for you. All the amendments which have been made by FE 2023, they have been notified till 31st October 2023, which is the cutoff date applicable for your examination. So you have to read the amendments made by FE 2023, and they have been given in the tabular form at the end of the chapter. So this point has already been highlighted in the statutory updates, that all the amendments made by FA 2023 are applicable for May 24 examination. So you have to read the amendments which are given at the end of the chapter in the tabular form, right? Then let's come to the relevant BoS publication. Study material. New features have been introduced in the study material this time. We have tried to make it, interesting for you so that you don't lose any sort of interest while, studying. Studying has also been made, an interesting activities, no more boring now. Now the new features like, the crosswords and the quiz puzzles and the rapid fire quizzes in the procedural law has been introduced. So now it is no more the boring task. Study has also been made like a game, like you are playing a game. Just like you people play Sudoku in the same manner, you can play now crossword puzzles at the end of, studying after completing each and every chapter. And the quiz questions have been framed, all the application-based quiz questions have been framed. And the quizzes are really very interesting. Sometimes even, when you will try to answer, just if you go through very quick, if you give a quick reading, then you might lose, giving the right answer, because the quizzes have been really framed in a very innovative manner. Are tricky points generally in each and every quiz. There's some tricky points are have been introduced so that your concepts get amplified clear. So this is a new feature, and I hope that you must be enjoying all this. Then we have the revision test paper.
You can show them study also, I think.
Okay.
That will give them an idea.
Okay, let me show you.
Yeah. Any of the chapters. We will see that in every chapter at the end, we have given crossword puzzles. We have given during the chapter, MCQ quizzes are there in substantive provisions. And in procedural law, you will find the rapid fire quizzes. So as Swati told, that this has been created to generate your interest in the subject. So when after reading the chapter or during the chapter, when you get bored sometime that this is a monotonous reading. So we have put lot many pictures, lot many visual imageries have been used, pictorial diagrams. Then these quizzes have been there. And at the end, you can use crossword also. That will help you in checking your retention. Crossword basically is for the retention purpose. So that will help you. Now,
see,
she's
these
giving
like
an idea.
I'm showing you the chapter 6, time of supply. You can see these, the quiz forms, quiz 1, quiz 2. And you know what you can do is to check your, the way, like whether you will be able to perform the questions in a timely manner or not. You can set time stopwatch for you. Whenever you are attempting a quiz question, you can set time deadline for you, like 1 minute or 2 minute maximum, I will say. Then then you will be able, your preparation will be basically in that manner that you will be able to complete your paper also in that timely manner.
Yes, this will help you in time management during exam also.
Yeah. So these are the quiz questions, and similarly, I will show you the crosswords also. See, the various, pictorial examples have been given. All the content, all the legal provisions have been covered in a summary, in a flow chart. Basically, if you will see this chapter, time of supply, all the provisions of section 12 and 13, they have been formulated only in one diagram. So this is really very interesting. It will really help you in retaining the provisions. Let us recapitulate section has been introduced at the end of each chapter.
In fact, some students are mentioning that Zoom link is not there, but students, few of you have joined already through this Zoom link. You once again update, you go to that page in BoS mobile app notifications, you will find that link there. In fact, few students who were earlier writing the query that they are not able to join, now they have also joined, because recently I have received a query from Nelluri. So she saying that it's class link is not coming, but Nelluri, you can now try. Link is there.
See, this is the crossword puzzle. So this is very interesting, and all the, it will help you as ma'am told you, it will help you in retention also for the examination. And you can check your answers by scanning the QR code, so that, we have introduced this feature also, so that, you are not tempted to see the answers again and again, and you really solve the questions honestly. So now again, coming to the next BOS publication is the revision test paper. I hope that you, by now, you must have gone through the revision test paper. This is for your practice. Then the mock test paper, recently we have introduced. Recently we have issued one set of mock test paper, and that you have to perform the answers in an examination like condition, so that you are able to, and you are able to, realize whether your time management, your presentation skills are apt or not. Then the statutory updates, May 24. This is a very significant publication in case of indirect tax law, especially I will say in this paper, goods and services tax, because what happens in GST, particularly, unlike income tax, basically the amendments, and they keep on updating the rules throughout the year. So the major amendments are covered in statutory updates. A lot of significant amendments are there in the statutory updates, and their cutoff date is 31st October 2023. And these statutory updates contain the basically CGST Amendment Act and IGST Amendment Act also, that has been made applicable for May 24 examination. So it has already been hosted on the website. You could go through it, and we will try to touch upon the few significant amendments during the session also. Then friends, these section-wise weightage and study guidelines, as ma'am told you, study guidelines is something very interesting, because it contains the topics which have been excluded from the syllabus, and everybody is interested in knowing what we don't have to study before, even I will say that before starting preparation for the relevant topics. So let's come to the section-wise weightage. Basically, now you must be wondering what is the significance of section-wise weightage, and why you need to look at upon it. Basically, friends, the section-wise weightage, it helps you in planning, because you come to know which section carries more weightage, how much time you need to, allot upon a particular topic, so that, it is justified, because while preparing for the entirely chapter, you need to, allocate the specific time to each chapter, to each section, so that it justifies with the weightage of the marks which will be asked in the examination. So in brief, I will tell you that first of all, you should study the substantive provisions. What are the substantive provisions? These are the fundamental concepts, legal provisions, which are the basis of, any law. Like for goods and services tax, if you will see the chapters 1 is the basically introduction of GST. Then starting from chapter 2, supply, which includes composite, mixed supply, charge of GST, reverse charge, time of supply, value, place of supply, exemptions, and input tax credit. All these provisions are basically substantive provisions. First of all, you should focus on these provisions, because all these provisions, and in total consist of, carries the highest weightage. As you can see, this is the section 2, and it carries the highest weightage, 50% to 80%. And the another reason why you should prepare these provisions, very strong in manner, because when you study these provisions effectively, it will help you in the understanding the procedural law also. So the procedural law is the like registration, tax invoice, accounts and records, e-way bill, payment of tax and returns are covered under procedural law at intermediate level, and it carries the weightage of 20% to 45%. And one important point here, let me touch upon it, is that for May 2024 examination onwards, the place of supply and the accounts and records, these two are the new chapters, these two are the new provisions, which I will say, which have been introduced for the first time at the intermediate level. So if any student who has joined, who is looking at this session, who is going through this, and who has already appeared in November 23 examination, that point is very important, that the place of supply and the accounts and records are the new chapters, and you need to understand, because these chapters you must not have gone through earlier. So you need to, study these provisions thoroughly. So first of all, you need to strengthen the substantial aspects of the GST law. Then next, you should move to the procedural aspects. And obviously, the introduction, even though you will say that it carries a lowest weightage, but yes, it is important for you that why GST has been introduced and what all the taxes have been subsumed. Even Abhi just now, after completing this, Shifali ma'am will, apprise you regarding the introductory part, constitutional aspects. These are, general provisions, but these are vital for you. Well, I will not say ki, from examination point of view, but yes, out of anxiety also you must be under, you would like to know what does GST, why GST, and what all taxes have been subsumed in GST, before GST, what was there. So it is important to know, right? So
In
now
fact,
again,
everything is important. You don't have to leave anything. This weightage is only provided you so that you can pay more attention, more focus on the areas which have a higher weightage. You will see in question paper also, in fact, mock test paper you must have seen. Many of you would have referred to mock test paper. That section 2, that is the substantive provisions. Maximum questions have been asked from that. So that gives you an idea that yes, this is the area where you have to focus more. You have to read it thoroughly. Other areas also you cannot leave. Everything is important. We never suggest selective study for the examination. But only thing is that what area has to be focused more. So that is what Swati is telling, that in fact, introduction is more important. You should know, before knowing any law, you should know why it has been introduced, what is the meaning of tax, what is GST, what is the concept of destination-based tax. Everything you should be thorough with. But yes, for examination purpose, you have to focus more on the substantive provisions. Yes, ma'am.
now coming to the study guidelines. See, whatever I'm showing you, that has already been hosted on the website. So basically, that's why I have not put all this content in the presentation, so that you also come to know that you need to refer all these, these
Sorry to
section-wise
disturb you,
weightages.
Swati. Can you zoom the
Right.
screen a bit? Because some of the students are not able.
Okay.
Yes, now it's fine.
Hope it is
Next.
clear.
I think now it's visible to everyone.
So, students, I was saying that basically we have not put all these content, study guidelines, and section-wise weightage in the PPT. There's a reason behind it, so that you also, get a conversant with with our website. This is our website, and all these things have been made publicly at the public domain. All these are available for you. All these are available at under BoS Knowledge Portal. So you should go through the same. In fact, you should inculcate a habit of regularly visiting this BoS website, referring the website.
True. You should refer the website regularly. In fact,
Yeah.
Swati will afterwards show you that how we have arrived at this section-wise weightage study guidelines. First, she'll explain you study guidelines, and we'll show you that how can you actually reach to this study guidelines, or you can access these study guidelines, this section-wise weightage on the website.
Yeah. So basically, study guidelines, as ma'am told you, these contains exclusions from the syllabus. So I will not, read the each and every line, that you can yourself also go through it. But yes, any significant point like charge of GST, rate of tax of goods and services is not expected from you. Then coming to the exemptions, only supply of services are covered in the syllabus. And basic concepts of place of supply, section 10 and 12 are covered. And place of supply of goods imported or exported from India, these are at, all these are discussed at the final level. Then basic concepts of time of supply, this change in rate of tax in respect of supply of goods or services has been excluded at intermediate level. Then in case of value of supply, valuation rules have been discussed at the final level. Similarly, in ITC, Rule 42, 43 talks about the reversal of ITC, and these are discussed at the final level. Rest, you can yourself, I will urge all of you that please go through the study guidelines and the section-wise weightage, while you also, make your timetable for the preparation of this paper.
And whatever has been covered in the study material is there in your syllabus. So these topics which she has just explained, they have not been covered in the study material, but you should refer to study material that for knowing exact coverage also. So whatever is there in the syllabus, which is there in study guidelines, is not covered in the study material, except that everything is there, provisions have been discussed.
Now coming to the, most sought after query, everywhere, whenever we got a lot of mails, we get queries telephonically as well, and the portal is also there for you. We get a lot of queries, ma'am, how to understand a complex topic. So this is the important thing. Ma'am will throw a light upon it.
Yeah. In fact, sometimes it so happens, students, that we read a topic, we are not able to understand anything, and we feel that this is a difficult topic, we'll not do it, we'll do it at the end. And we keep on procrastinating our studies for that particular topic, and it gets left out in this exam. So there is a technique which it has been devised, or which is, you can say, very well tested technique, which has been being followed by the learners for a long time, is the Feynman technique. This is what we have used here, is that in what it says is that you should first of all go through the topic which you find, some topic you are finding difficult, you go through that topic from, in our case, from the study material. So whatever study material you have, you go through the topic from that and try to write that topic in your own simple words, in simple language, as if you are explaining it to someone. So if you are doing group studies, then you can explain it to your friends. If you're not in group studies, because sometimes it leads to wastage of time, also some students are not comfortable in group studies, so in that case what they can do is they can do it on, they can try to explain it in a manner they are doing it for someone, but nobody is there. You can pretend that you are explaining it to someone. So that will help you in understanding the concept in a better manner. Give some examples to yourself.
And in fact, friends, I would like to tell you, even we people follow this technique.
Yes.
Whenever, something I go through, sometimes whatever I understand, I discuss with ma'am, whether I have understood it in a right manner or not. So this is not anything
Nothing new.
Nothing
It helps
new.
in understanding the
Yes.
provision
Even
better.
we people also follow this. Whenever we understand the law, what is the reason behind it, and whether we are able to interpret the same or not, we also follow the
When we go through the amendments, when we go through the new
and
provisions,
it
we
really
try this
helps
manner.
in retention, as well as it clears your concepts. So it is really effective, we can say.
So once you have written the provision in your own words, and you feel that there are some areas where you still lack some understanding, then go back to the study material, see all the examples, illustrations, whatever content is given in the study material explaining that provision. Once again, go through that area, and now try to improve your understanding, your explanation to that particular topic. So this way, your explanation will become complete in itself in simple words, and it will help you in retaining that topic for a longer period. You will be able to understand that topic. So this is the way of understanding a difficult topic. In fact, another way of learning or understanding the complex topics in a tax law is that understanding the intent of the provision. Because if we know that what was the logic behind this particular provision, why this particular provision was introduced in the first place, what was the difficulty which was being faced by the industry or by the society at large, that will help you in retaining that provision in a better manner. So some of the logics we'll be discussing when we'll be discussing the significant concepts, we'll try to explain you that also, so that it helps you in understanding the concept better. Next slide, please. Then is how you can memorize the concepts in an effective manner. For that, what you have to do is, whatever you have done in a particular day, revise everything at the end of the day. Please make sure, though it is very tiring and you generally will be tempted not to do it on a particular day, you will try to procrastinate it or feel that next day I will do it. But try to follow it religiously, that whatever you have done on a particular day, revise it on that particular day itself. Before going for sleep, whatever you have done during the day, just have a glance at it even. That will help you. So revise all the concepts before going for sleep on a particular day. And next day also, when you start studying, before starting any fresh topic, just have a glance over the topics which you have done on the previous day. This way, if you will continue revising the topics which you have done on the previous day, your retention will definitely be quite high as compared to when you are not revising. So this will help you in memorizing the concepts. Moreover, what you can use, you can use the mnemonics. You can use acrostics, mnemonics in the form of acronyms. You can make some words you have to remember. Then you can use the first alphabet of all those words, and you can make some short acronym for you based on your area of interest. We'll show some of examples during our course of discussion. So you can frame on your own, because whatever acronym you will frame on your own, that will be, you will be able to memorize it in a better manner. So acrostics is, you can take some words from your provision and you can frame a sentence. You can try to frame a sentence that will help you in memorizing all the provisions, all the clauses or the sub clauses, paras of that particular provision. This will help you in creating an interest also, but you have to do it based on your area of interest. You have an interest in sports or movies or whatever is your area of interest. As per that, you can frame your acronyms, acrostics, visual imageries we have provided in the study material also, that when you see a provision, you tend to recall that image and you better retain that provision. So you should try to understand the logic which is there behind the provision. You should try to use the acronyms, acrostics, and this will increase your retention for that particular provision. And we hope that these techniques will help you. We'll give you some examples during our discussion. In fact, these are codes for the taxation that collect taxes from the citizens as honeybees collect nectar from the flowers gently and without inflicting pain. So Chanakya has said that the taxes should be collected in such a small amount that the citizens should not even feel the pain or pinch of being taxed, and it serves the purpose of the government also. In fact, with this, we should first of all start that why the taxes are being collected in the first place. Some student is saying double voice. So if others are also facing this problem, please let us know. Zoom link we have once again shared, but many of you have already joined. So I wonder that if any problem, why some others are
I
facing
think
any
some
problem.
students are writing that they are waiting in direct taxation link.
Okay. But you have to see in the taxation paper 3B, you have to see the link. So maybe this is the reason they are facing the problem. Uh, Still, if you have not got the Zoom link, please send us a message. And regarding voice, if you are facing an issue, please let us know in the chat box so that we can check on that. Now, regarding the taxation, so why the taxes are imposed in the first place? Taxes are imposed because the government, in any welfare state, the government has to do so much for the upliftment or development of the states, the citizens, like roads have to be built and schools have to be built and public amenities have to be provided to them, water, electricity. So for that, the government needs money. So where will government get the money from? Government does not have any source of earning except taxes. So because they generally don't charge people from profit motive. They generally charge people at the subsidized rates or very nominal rates. So they get money, and in fact, roads are built, so they are not charging anything except toll roads, which are very few. So they have to get money for that, and this money they get from the taxes. And taxes are of two types, that one is government tax, direct taxes and indirect taxes. In fact, tax is a monetary burden which is imposed by the government and which is a compulsory levy which is imposed by the government from the citizens of the country. Direct taxes are levied on a particular person, whereas indirect taxes are not levied on a particular person. It is levied on a particular transaction. So direct taxes cannot be shifted to any other person, but indirect taxes are always shifted to some other person. I am a seller, I am selling something, my buyer will give the tax. So they are generally regressive in nature. Indirect taxes are regressive in nature, whereas they will not change with the person's income. Even if a person with a lower income is buying any goods or any availing any services, he has to pay the same amount of tax as a rich person is doing. So poor person as well as rich persons have to pay same amount of indirect taxes. Whereas in case of direct taxes, a person who is in a lower income bracket has to pay lesser amount of tax, and they are progressive in nature. So as your income increases, your tax amount will increase. But indirect taxes will remain same. So this is the basic difference between these two taxes. And before starting law, we should know all these things. Though I assume that most of you must have started your preparation. In fact, you must be somewhere around completing your preparation. So you must be knowing these things. But just to brush up, just to revise the concept, I'm discussing this. Now the concept of GST. Before that, let me see if you still are facing this voice problem. Low voice, Pooja is saying. So others can apprise that whether they are still feeling low voice. And those who are in Zoom link can also tell, okay. Ashlisha has raised her hand. Yes, Ashlisha, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your query or whatever you want to say.
हेलो मैम, गुड इवनिंग, गुड आफ्टरनून मैम।
Good afternoon.
मैम मेरे को ना आईटीसी वाले चैप्टर में थोड़ा सा डाउट्स वगैरह रहती हैं। आईटीसी वाला बहुत मतलब कॉम्प्लिकेट लगता है चैप्टर।
देखो अश्लीषा, इसके लिए क्या है कि हमारी लाइव वर्चुअल क्लासेस हैं जो अभी चल भी रही हैं, अभी खत्म होने वाली हैं वैसे, पर सारी क्लासेस रिकॉर्डेड फॉर्म में अवेलेबल हैं। इनफैक्ट आईटीसी की क्लास आप देखोगे, आई थिंक 5 to 6 लेक्चर्स वी हैव डेडिकेटेड टू आईटीसी बिकॉज थोड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स है टॉपिक। इंटरमीडिएट के हिसाब से एक्चुअली में कॉम्प्लेक्स है। बट अगर आप वो क्लासेस देखोगे आपके बहुत बहुत सारे डाउट्स क्लियर हो जाएंगे, इनफैक्ट आपको टॉपिक समझ में आएगा। आप मेरी एडवाइस से आज ही आप इसको रेफर करके देखो, यू विल डेफिनेटली फाइंड इट वेरी यूजफुल।
क्लासेस कहाँ से मिलेंगी मैम? बोस पे
क्लासेस
होंगी?
आपने BOS मोबाइल ऐप से ज्वाइन किया है ना,
यस मैम।
उसी में क्लासेस है इंटरमीडिएट में जाके।
ओके मैम,
ठीक
थैंक
है,
यू मैम।
आपको फिर भी डाउट हो तो आप पूछ सकते हो, मेल डाल के पूछ लेना, आपको हम बता देंगे कहाँ पे है।
ठीक,
ठीक है,
ओके, थैंक यू मैम।
दिव्या नाउ यू कैन अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ। दिव्या,
Very good afternoon, ma'am.
गुड आफ्टरनून।
Ma'am, my doubt is that Saransh is fully amended for May 24 examination or not? Because
Saransh is fully amended. Saransh is fully amended. Only caution intermediate students have to take is that they have to see, because Saransh is a complete combined publication for intermediate and final. So it has many topics which are applicable only in final. Like Swati already apprised you that study guidelines have excluded certain topics from intermediate, though they are applicable for final students. So those topics would also be there in Saransh. So while doing Saransh, you have to keep study guidelines along with you and keep excluding those topics which are there for final and not applicable for intermediate. Otherwise, Saransh is updated till 31st October. So it has all Finance Act amendments also and notification circulars, but to the extent they are applicable in Saransh, they have been incorporated. So it is fully amended.
okay, ma'am.
So
Thank
hope voice is clear to you, Divya, because some students earlier wrote that they were not able to, some double voice was coming.
you.
So,
No, ma'am, voice is clear.
okay. And in fact, we are still getting some queries regarding Zoom link. So we have once again sent the Zoom link. You all can join through that. Other queries we'll take during the session. So let's start with the concept of GST. Now, as I told you, GST is a destination-based consumption tax. Now, what does it actually means?
मैम 50 प्लस स्टूडेंट ने मैम इनकम टैक्स में ज्वाइन किया हुआ है। मैंने अभी वहां ज्वाइन की थी क्लास। मैम मतलब जूम लिंक शो नहीं हो रहा BOS पे।
इनकम टैक्स में ज्वाइन कर लिया है,
यस मैम, मैम 50 से ज्यादा स्टूडेंट है वहां पे। मैंने अभी उस पे ज्वाइन किया था
बट
पहले।
इनकम टैक्स की कोई
बट
क्लास नहीं हो रही है ना।
नो मैम, मैम बट बच्चों को शो नहीं हो रहा ना लिंक। मैम मुझे भी मेरी किसी फ्रेंड ने शेयर
Just
की
give
है
me
मैम,
a
मेरे को
minute.
भी
Let
शो नहीं हो
me
रहा था।
Okay, we'll
transfer to the
chalo, thanks for apprising this.
technical person.
We'll contact our technical person for this so that others can also join. आपने अच्छा वो बता दिया हमें ये बात, हम एक बार अपनी टेक्निकल पर्सन से बात कर लेते हैं। अच्छा, डेस्टिनेशन बेस्ड कंजम्पशन टैक्स, इतने हम कॉन्सेप्ट पे आते हैं। जो बाकी बच्चे हैं वो ज्वाइन कर लेंगे, अदरवाइज यूट्यूब से भी आप देख सकते हो। यू कैन व्यू दिस सेशन आफ्टरवर्ड्स ऑल्सो। डेस्टिनेशन बेस्ड कंजम्पशन टैक्स का मतलब है कि टैक्स इज लेवीड एट द प्लेस where the goods or services are actually consumed. Unlike the origin-based tax which we have at the time of VAT or CST, they were being levied at the time when goods were produced, or in the state where the goods were produced or services were provided. So, or in fact, service tax was always a consumption tax, but goods for CST and VAT were being taxed in the state where they were being origin or they were being produced or manufactured. Whereas in goods and services tax is levied at the place where the goods or services are being consumed. Destination of the goods where they are being consumed. That is why it is called destination-based consumption tax. It is a value-added tax. What does it mean? Value-added tax का क्या मतलब है? Value-added tax means that the tax is being levied only on the value or the amount of value which is being added at each stage of the supply chain. That means we'll use the tax paid on inward supplies for the payment of the tax on outward supplies, or input tax is available for payment of the output tax. This makes it a value added tax. That means you are actually paying tax only on the difference or only on the value which has been added at each stage of the supply chain, because there is a continuous chain of credits in the GST. Okay, at every stage you are getting full credit, and that is why your only value which is being added at each stage is being taxed. No tax cascading. What is tax cascading? Tax cascading means tax on tax. I think Swati has got some number.
Yeah, वैसे Zoom link is there. You know, when you will open the mobile app, the new notification has been sent to you. But any student who is finding it difficult, I'm telling you the number. You may note it down, and you can open the link 86282437157. I am also writing it on a paper.
Yeah, you can write it here, Swati. So you
Okay.
can write on the next slide, because I'm going to the next slide. So here you can write.
Okay.
Students who are viewing the session through YouTube, they can call at this number if you are still finding it difficult to join through Zoom link. Because somebody just informed that many students have joined in income tax link, though there is no class for income tax now. So if you are finding any issue, we have once again shared the Zoom link with you all, and you can call at this particular number if you are still finding it difficult to enter through Zoom link. Okay?
You can enter this number basically.
Actually, this is the number for
This
Zoom
is the-
link.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I misunderstood it. So this is the number which you have to enter while connecting to Zoom link. Okay, now framework of GST as introduced in India. See, GST which has been introduced in India is a concurrent dual GST model. India is a federal state. That means we have a state, we have different states, and we have government at the center. Indian federalism is quite unique in itself. Why? Because we have more powers collected at the center. Center has more powers as compared to states. So though there is a decentralization of power with the states, but we still have central government which has more powers, more control, and that you can see during our day-to-day operations, that government has control over all the states. Now, in such a case, we need to have for GST also, we had a dual GST model, but that was a concurrent dual GST model. That means the states can levy taxes at the center for the central taxes like services, goods, on manufacture of goods, on provision of services. States can also levy tax now. And similarly, center can levy tax on the sales of goods within a state. So earlier there were separate subjects. State tax was VAT was levied by the states, and CST and central excise duty service tax was being levied by the center. Now both of them can levy tax and on entire chain, supply chain, from production till distribution, all the both center and state can levy taxes, and that is how GST became possible. GST common portal, we have a common portal, that means GSTIN, which is a IT portal which has all the which has all the links for registration, payment, then invoicing. In fact, for invoicing, they have made now a separate portal. For e-invoicing, they have made a portal of a separate dedicated portal for e-invoicing, and for e-waybill, there is a separate dedicated portal. Otherwise, for everything, for any demand has been raised, you have to file an appeal, you have to file your refund application. For everything, you have to go to a dedicated portal, gst.gov.in, and that is GST Common Portal. That is a wholly owned company, subsidiary company, which is there for addressing all your issues regarding GST. Now we come to the GST compensation. In fact, now many students are joining. I think if this issue had been resolved, so you can join through Zoom link now. And in case, I can see 2 hands also are raised, but let me complete this topic because I want to tell you that please, let me complete the topic and then I will take your queries. So everybody's query will be answered. That's not an issue. GST compensation is a cess which is imposed on to compensate the states for the loss which they have borne due to introduction of GST, because every state was getting VAT, CST, their share of CST and VAT. Now everything has been subsumed into one. So states had a fear that they will lose revenue on account of introduction of GST. Because of that, the center is assured them that they will be providing them some compensation, and for that they levy a cess called GST compensation cess. This is a cess which was levied on luxury or thin goods, demerit goods like pan masala, then aerated waters, motor cars, luxury goods. So, and on the value of supply of these goods. So this GST compensation cess is leviable both on interstate supply as well as intrastate supply. Initially, it was supposed to be levied for 5 years till 30th June 2022. 1st July 2017 GST came till 30th June 2022. GST compensation cess was leviable. But since states could not be compensated fully, so it was extended till 31st March 2026. In fact, a very, very important point here is that GST compensation cess is not applicable for your questions. Whenever you are answering any question, don't consider GST compensation cess. You might get this, this instruction in the question paper also. But even if it is not there, do not consider GST compensation cess. Rate, etc. will not be provided in the question. And don't get confused. It's only for your information that you should know that GST compensation cess is there. Then GST legislative framework is there, but I think I should not cover it because that will take some important topics which I want to cover afterwards. GST legislative framework, you know that interstate, intrastate supply is there, CGST, SGST, UTGST, and IGST are being levied, which is the government which is levying it. You can refer the slide if you, and this will be there in your study material also. We'll cover more intricate topics so that we do not leave on them. Intrastate supply, you know that supply within a state is intrastate supply, and supply where two states are involved is interstate supply, broadly speaking. But exact definition is there in the place of supply chapter, because place of supply provisions affect that. Okay. Taxes subsumed in GST. Now, these are the taxes which have been subsumed in GST. You can just have a glance at them. Mainly the excise duty, service tax, VAT, and the entertainment tax on, but the only which is not levied by the local bodies. Then all the surcharge, CVD, everything has been subsumed in GST. But what is more important is that what has not been subsumed in GST, because when we see such a big list, we get lost in it, that okay, it seems everything has been subsumed. But when we see what has not been subsumed, it gives us a clear idea that yes, this is not subsumed in GST. So that means this is still being levied, which is your customs duty, all forms of customs duty, additional this safeguard duty, anti-dumping, export duty. Then the toll tax, property tax, stamp duty, electricity tax, mandi tax, professional tax, everything is still there. They are being levied apart from the GST. Now, before we move further, we have, let's see, Jagdish, you can unmute yourself and ask your query. Jagdish? Till the time Jagdish unmutes himself, let's start with what certain products are there where there is a different provision that they are within, whether they are within GST or outside GST, or specific products are there, which treatment of which you should be knowing. One is alcoholic liquor for human consumption. The definition of goods and services tax in the Constitution itself provides that GST excludes the tax on alcoholic liquor for human consumption. So, alcoholic liquor for human consumption is outside the purview of GST. No GST can be levied on alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Then what is being levied? State excise duty, CST, and VAT. On manufacture, state excise duty. On sale, inter and intrastate sale, CST and VAT is being levied. Petroleum products. Now, petroleum products are within the purview of GST, but this, I think all of you must be knowing this, that presently it is not being levied to GST. Only central excise duty and CST and VAT is being levied on them. We are just having a glance because we'll discuss some MCQ quizzes based on that. So all of you go through the slide very carefully. I will be asking questions from you and you all have to answer them. Now, tobacco. Tobacco is also within the purview of GST, but since tobacco is a demerit good, it is a sin good, apart from GST, and it is a great source of revenue for the central government. So apart from this GST, on the manufacture of tobacco, central excise duty is also being levied. Now for this, here, in order to remember that tobacco is subject to GST as well as central excise duty, you can use some mnemonics, T, G, C, if you can make something out of it. So you can use it, you can remember it this way also. Then comes the other narcotic products, opium, hemp, Indian hemp, narcotic drugs. For that also, GST is leviable on them. Plus, it is a state subject. Narcotics, drugs are state subject. So, state excise duty is leviable apart from GST. Okay. Aisha, you can unmute yourself and ask your query.
Anissa, please unmute Aisha. You can also, write your query in the chat box or the,
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, my query is if a business person purchases any asset for business and later on which ITC has been claimed. Now, if the person gives it to his employee for free of cost, so ma'am, what will be the ITC thing to be done? Will it has to be reversed or what will it be done?
Yes, Aisha, because it becomes a supply now. When he gives this business asset to his employee, you have to see whether he has charged anything from it or not, first of all. Because if he has charged anything, we have to see Schedule 1. And then we have to go to the ITC provisions whether reversal is attracted on. Because it becomes a supply. You have purchased a business asset and you have actually supplied it to someone else. So reversal provisions will accordingly apply.
And if he have not charged, then
it becomes a deemed supply. Then also it becomes a supply. But for supply, you have to see whether it is a chargeable supply. That means he has charged any consideration for that, or whether it is a deemed supply. For deemed supply, then you have to take value as per the valuation rules, which is there.
Okay.
But valuation rules are not there
have
in
to
your...
pay the ITC claimed on it. correct?
Sorry.
In short, he will have to pay the ITC have claimed on the asset.
In this case, it will not be required because employee are related. You are talking about para 1 of schedule 1, but it will come in para 2. So there is no,
Okay, ma'am.
but you are telling yourself that he has claimed ITC, though it is not required because he's not coming in para 1. In this case will come in para 2. I think Jagdish
Okay,
has not yet unmuted, so we are moving further. Now we have
okay,
first
thank you
quiz
so much,
question
ma'am.
of chapter 1.
Ma'am, sorry.
So this is which of the following statements is incorrect? In fact, this is based on what we have discussed just now, and I think I'm expecting answer from all of you because this is the point which I have just discussed with you. Which of the following statements is incorrect? Alcoholic liquor for human consumption is outside the realm of GST. Remember what the question is and what are the statements. I will not repeat the question now. You have to see which is the correct statement. Manufacture or production of alcoholic liquor is subject to state excise duty. Interstate or intrastate sale of alcohol is subject to CST or VAT respectively. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption is subject to GST. So I'm expecting answers from all of you.
Ma'am, D is incorrect.
Sorry,
Ma'am, D.
D is
D.
incorrect. Okay, let
D.
others also solve it.
You may please
answer.
raise your hand, so that you please, all the students are requested to raise your hands.
So all of you who have come to the right answer or who have arrived at any answer, they can raise your hand. Yeah. Yes, Ashlisha.
Ma'am, D answer.
Okay, Aisha. In fact, now others have.
Ma'am, D is the answer.
In fact, a lot of students have, replied over the chat as well that D is the answer. Yes,
Yeah.
all of you are.
And we are not
Yes.
able to see their names fully, but yes, many of you have
Majority
answered
of you
correctly.
have answered.
So this good that you are following up and you are knowing the correct answer. Next one. Now, presently, dash is leviable on dash of petroleum and diesel. So we have 5 options. Which of these options are correct? I already discussed with you that petroleum and diesel, what is the leviability of GST on them? What is the other tax which is being levied on them So you have to see out of these 5 options that which options are correct, and then option A, B, C, and D are given to you accordingly. Let's see some. Yes. In fact, we have this another chat box where students are answering. So Sudhanshu, Mithilesh, and Preeti have also answered correctly there.
Whenever you are writing the answer, also mention the quiz number so that we don't get.
Yes, that is.
You have right
that
answer
is
to the right.
Because now we'll start doing quizzes now. So somebody is answering for question 1 and we are on question 2. So we'll get confused that you have not answered it correctly, though you must be answering correctly. So, yes, Shithala is also answering correctly.
For quiz 2, right?
I think she
We
has
are waiting
answered for
answer
quiz
for
1.
quiz
Now,
2.
answer for quiz 2, we are waiting. So I think we have started getting answers for quiz 2. And in Zoom link, those of you who have arrived at the answer, you can raise your hands. So I'm still getting hands being raised by Aisha and Ashlisha only. So yes. Yes, Aisha.
Ma'am, is it option number A?
Okay, I will not tell you whether
Actually,
your
ma'am,
answer is
option
correct or
number
not, because
A
otherwise
is
it gives
option
the
number
other
C,
students a
ma'am.
hint.
I got
Okay,
confused.
as per you, option A is correct. Yes, Ashlisha.
Option
Ma'am,
C.
C. Option C.
Option
C.
C. Okay. Fahad,
Option C, ma'am.
option C. So 2C, 1A. And somebody
Option
has
C,
joined
ma'am.
with Realme 9 5G. Anshul. Yes, Anshul.
Ma'am, A.
A. Divya.
Ma'am, A.
Atanu.
Ma'am, A.
Okay. Mehmood.
Option C, ma'am.
Option C. Okay. Now let us see what is the correct answer. I told you that petroleum and diesel, petroleum products, they are not leviable to GST right now, though they are within the purview of GST. So on them, GST is not being levied. Okay. So central excise duty on their manufacture, central sales tax on their interstate sale, and VAT on their intrastate sale is being levied because they are not subject to GST at present. So option A is correct. So all of you who have given A as the correct answer are right. In fact,
Ma'am,
we
C
have got
क्यों
it.
नहीं है?
Sorry.
मैम सी वाला क्यों नहीं है करेक्ट?
सी में आप बता रहे हो कि सी के हिसाब से आप जीएसटी भी बता रहे हो कि उस पे जीएसटी भी लेवी हो रहा है। आपसे भी मैंने बताया कि जीएसटी के परव्यू में तो है बट जीएसटी उस पे लेवी नहीं हो रहा। इसमें बहुत डिफरेंस है। एल्कोहलिक लिकर पे जीएसटी आप लगा ही नहीं सकते हो, लेकिन पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट्स के ऊपर जीएसटी अभी लेविएबल नहीं है। जब भी गवर्नमेंट को लगेगा, गवर्नमेंट चार्जिंग सेक्शन चेंज करके, चार्जिंग सेक्शन सेक्शन 9 है, उसमें स्पेसिफिकली लिखा हुआ है कि अभी पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट्स पे जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा, विद इफेक्ट फ्रॉम अ डेट टू बी नोटिफाइड इट विल बी लेवीड। तो अभी लगा नहीं है, इसका मतलब जीएसटी हम लेविएबल नहीं कह सकते। अभी जो लग रहा है उसके ऊपर जो टैक्सेस लग रहे हैं वो सेंट्रल एक्साइज ड्यूटी, सीएसटी और वैट है।
ओके मैम।
इनफैक्ट हमारे चैट बॉक्स में भी हमारे पास करेक्ट ऑप्शंस आए हैं। सुधांशु, रवि कुमार, शिताला एंड प्रीति, दे हैव आंसर्ड इट करेक्टली। सो ऑप्शन सी इज नॉट करेक्ट क्योंकि इस पे जीएसटी नहीं लग रहा। डोंट कंफ्यूज इट विद टबैको। टबैको में ऐसा है कि आपका जीएसटी भी लग रहा है और सेंट्रल एक्साइज ड्यूटी भी लग रही है। ये क्वेश्चन भी क्विकली आंसर कर दीजिए। आई विल नॉट मतलब ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लगाएंगे क्योंकि हमें बहुत सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स अभी कवर करने हैं। अभी हम चैप्टर 1 पे, हम चाहते हैं जितना ज्यादा हम सब्सटैंटिव प्रोविजंस कवर कर लें, अमेंडमेंट्स कवर कर लें, आप लोगों का बेनिफिट होगा, आप लोग समझ पाओगे उन प्रोविजंस को। तो अब क्वेश्चन 5, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग टैक्सेस इज और आर नॉट सब्स्यूम्ड इन जीएसटी? वो टैक्सेस बताने हैं जो जीएसटी में सब्स्यूम नहीं हुए हैं। सर्विस टैक्स, कस्टम्स, लग्जरी टैक्स, टैक्स ऑन लॉटरी, बेटिंग, गैम्बलिंग, एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स लेविड बाय लोकल बॉडीज।
एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स मैम।
Ma'am, second option is right answer.
B answer is right.
ठीक है, बी आंसर इज करेक्ट। कस्टम्स ड्यूटी एंड एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स लेविड ऑन लोकल बॉडीज। ठीक है,
Yes, ma'am.
चलो लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक, सप्लाई अंडर जीएसटी।
See, as ma'am, we recently just talk about the mnemonics and all the techniques which are used for retention. So we are giving you an illustrative list, an example for this. And as ma'am told you, we are just giving you an example, but yes, you yourself can prepare wherever you feel that this is a gray area for you. You are lacking, you are not able to retain these provisions. You can make a whatever you feel convenient, like mnemonic or acrostics based upon your interest. Like someone has got an interest in the cricket, so he can make acrostics like the name of a cricketer or something like that, or a movie name or a film star name, depending upon the area of interest. You can make yourself as well. So like we have come to the section 7, which defines the term supply. So we have make this mnemonics for.
This is an acronym for
Acronym
supply
for section,
definition.
yeah. Supply includes all forms of goods, supply of goods or services or both, such as these items are there, like these transactions are there: disposal, sale, license, rental, barter, exchange, lease, transfer. So, and made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person, then in the course or furtherance of business. So what all are the important key points? Now, what we have done is we have taken one alphabet from all the key ingredients of this definition, and then we have made, what happens in acrostics is we make a some whatever some amusing or some interesting sentence or something. It's a collection of some words.
The way you can recall it.
Whatever way you can recall it. So what we have done is, what is important here is the DSLR belt of GS for CNB. And what does DSLR signify here is disposal, sale, license, rental. DSLR, belt, barter, exchange, lease, and transfer. Right? So by this way, you are able to retain, you are able to memorize the 8 manners of supply. Disposal, your supply can be made in the form of disposal, sale, license, rental, and belt, barter, exchange, lease, and transfer, right? And the another important thing, another key ingredient of the definition of supply is GS. GS stands for goods or services. And C and B is, C stands for consideration and B is in the course or furtherance of business. So hope you find it interesting. DSLR belt of GS for C and B.
This way you can recall it during the exam also. So she has very beautifully explained that how you can make acronyms for other things also, but this is how we have made it for the definition of supply. The main phrase, that is 7(1)(a), section 7, subsection 1, clause A. And from this 7(1)(a), these are the parameters of supply which we have derived. Just now we discussed that supply should be of goods or services. That is G and S. That is the main ingredient, main key word, or you can say main prerequisite for considering anything to be supply, or these are the main parameters for considering anything to be supply. Supply should be of some goods or services. From goods or services, money and securities are excluded. So neither goods include money, goods exclude money and securities, services also exclude money and securities. So any transaction in money or securities will not be a supply. In course or furtherance of business, like Swati told you that business is a keyword. Why it is a keyword? Because business supply should be in course or furtherance of business. Business test has to be present for considering anything to be supply. Only exception is import of services. If you are importing services, and in that case, it is not in course or furtherance of business, though the other prerequisite, that is consideration, third one which is given to you, consideration is there, then that becomes a supply. That is only exception where even if business test is absent, it will be considered as supply. Next prerequisite is consideration, which we have just discussed. Consideration should also be there only in Schedule 1 cases. Consideration is not there. 4 cases are mentioned in Schedule 1. In that cases, even if the consideration is not there, but business test is present, that means they are in course or furtherance of business, supplies of goods or services, they should be considered supply. We're quickly going through the concepts so that we can cover more and more concepts. 7.1 Section 7, subsection 1, clause A provides that any services, I can see some hands being raised, we'll take it. Just let me complete this supply concept. Activities or transactions between a person other than individual and its members. So this basically covers any services provided by a club to its members or by its members to its club. This is an amendment which was made afterwards, after introduction of GST. Why this provision was introduced? Because there has always been an ambiguity whether the club and its members, any club, RW is an example of a club, or Gymkhana club. These clubs, they are providing services or goods to their members, and in return, members are also providing some services to them. So they be considered two different persons, two distinct persons, so that any exchange of goods or services between them be considered as supply. So there has always been a dispute on this. It was a controversial point. There were Supreme Court judgments which provided that yes, they are not two distinct persons, so anything between them will not be considered as supply. In order to clarify this, the law was changed and this clause was inserted, which provided that the association or club, etc., if they are providing any services to members or vice versa, that shall be for a consideration, then that shall be considered as supply.
See, a few students are raising the query कि मैम ये notes कहाँ से मिलेंगे, and these MCQs, all those who are asking MCQs, I think you people have not referred the study material.
This shows that you have not seen study material.
Yeah, we people, work hard, so that, provide you each and every time something new, everything in an interesting manner. So it's a humble request to all of you, please
go through the study material. You will find the MCQ. And these notes we'll try to upload. We'll contact our technical person, how these can be uploaded in the BoS app. You will find these PPTs also there.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is the Schedule 1. Now, these are Schedule 1 activities. So I will not go through each and activity in detail. What I need to show here is, Swati, in fact, you can explain this because you have an interest in this area also, na?
Yeah, Schedule 1, basically, as ma'am told you, we are not going to, we will not go into detail, but yes, the key ingredients of Schedule 1. Schedule 1 specifies the activities which shall, without consideration, which shall be treated as supply. So basically deemed supply, even if the consideration is missing. Right. So in the first case, there are 4 entries in it, 4 para, like permanent transfer or disposal of business assets where ITC has already been availed, number 1. Number 2 is supply of goods or services, or both supply of goods and or services between related persons or between distinct persons. Then number 3, supply of goods by a principal to his agent or by an agent to his principal on behalf of principal. Then import of services, as just in the previous slide, ma'am explained to you, import of services by a person from a related person or any establishment outside India, even if it is the same has been made without consideration, it shall be treated as a deemed supply.
Yes. So this is the acrostic which we have framed for it. Permanent transfer between related person by a principal to his agent, import of services. This will help you in recalling all the 4 paras quickly. You can make something else also which you find interesting or you find more retaining. Okay. Then we have Schedule 2. Schedule 2 classifies the activities which once qualify as supply. Something which qualifies as supply then how it can be classified as supply of goods or supply of services. Why it has been done? Because these activities, there has always been some doubt in these activities that whether they are supply of goods or supply of services. There is a, you can say there had been, earlier there were controversies that they were being classified both as goods or as services and in the time of VAT and service tax. So now the government has clarified that yes, this particular service or this particular supply will be categorized whether as a supply of service or supply of goods. So one student in fact was asking in the chat box that what is the difference between parent company and this holding company, though it is not related to this, but I want to answer it because he asked long time back. I forgot to answer that. See, I think Abhishek has asked us. Abhishek, parent company and holding company, they are generally used interchangeably. So the holding company does not carry on any operations on its own. It just is a controlling all the companies which are under it, all its subsidiaries. Parent company can carry on any business, any operations on its own. So this is the basic difference. Though generally in normal terms, we use them interchangeably. And I had one more. Yeah, somebody was asking, can I mark the
Black
OMR sheet with this pencil? I think he was asking.
or with black ink. For that, you need to refer the instructions given on the top of the page,
Yes.
top of the question paper. You get the instructions, so you please refer them very
them.
carefully, because
it could be there in your admit card also. If
Right.
when you get the admit card, that instruction could be there.
Yes.
So she very well pointed out that you need to read other instructions also. There could be some very useful information you might miss. So before going for exam, read the instruction card very carefully. I think you'll get the answer for this.
Another question asked by Mr. Harish Chandra is it necessary to obtain 40% in each section of taxation paper? This paper as a whole comprises of 100 marks. So you need to get 40% marks in the overall paper. So, right. So in total, DT indirect taxes plus direct taxes, in total combination of DT and IDT, you need to get 40% marks.
Then comes Schedule 3. Schedule 3 has the activities which are not considered as supply at all. Though they have some parameters of supply, they are of supply of goods, they are supply of services, or they have consideration, they are in course of furtherance of business, but still they are not considered as supply because they have been specifically mentioned in Schedule 3. And any activity which is mentioned in Schedule 3, or there are some circulars and notifications also, if it is specifically notified that yes, this thing will not be considered as supply, then it becomes a non-supply. So Schedule 3 has all these activities listed. We have some circulars also, notifications also, which provides that yes, these activities will not be considered as supply. So in this, we have amendments. Swati will explain it to you quickly.
Yeah, there is one significant amendment has been made in this Schedule 3. Basically, actionable claims other than betting, gambling, and lottery was there in Schedule 3. So what does it signify? Items which are included in Schedule 3 are neither supply of goods nor supply of services. So actionable claim, it means कि all the actionable claims they are वो goods भी नहीं है और वो services भी नहीं है, but other than betting, gambling, and lottery. So it means कि betting, gambling, and lottery, these three were excluded from the actionable claims. So all the actionable claims were neither goods nor services, but betting, gambling, and lottery, these three were taxable. But now, what amendment has been made in this is White CGST Amendment Act 2023 is that betting, gambling, and lottery law. Betting, gambling, and lottery was already there. Now, three items: casinos, horse racing, and online money gaming have been included in it. Now, you must be wondering how the the taxability, at what value it will be taxable. The valuation, the taxable, the value at which these provisions will be calculated. It is covered. They will be governed by the valuation rules, and the valuation rules will be applicable for you at the final level. And another thing is that what is the time of supply at the when these activities will be taxable. So whenever the amount is received, the payment is received, the time of supply triggers on, and these services get taxable at that point of time only, and the valuation is made as per the valuation rules which are covered at the final level.
Yes, so you do not have to refer to their valuation, that is not covered. Jagdish has been raising his hand for quite some time. Earlier we asked him to unmute, but I think that time he was not there. Yes, Jagdish, you can unmute yourself and ask your query.
Good evening. Can you able to hear me?
Yes.
Ma'am, I have doubt regarding a question, ma'am. So in exam, that is calculation of minimum GST payable question.
Okay. So for that, Jagdish, can you write us a mail? Because we have to see that question and then we can answer you.
No, like in generic, I have a doubt.
Yes, you can ask me any generic question if you because for question you have to first send us the question or we have to first open the question. Yes, tell me what you want to ask.
Ma'am, even though there is sufficient MTPs past year question papers for GST, and also in study material we have enough practical sums and illustration
Please,
sums regarding.
please be a bit louder, a bit louder.
Okay, so even though we have enough MTP, RTP sums, and also we have enough practical sums in our study material, but we are facing struggles in solving that question in exam. When it come to exam, main exam, it is very difficult. Like it is completely different. Like it's not how to say. It is very difficult, ma'am. That single question alone.
You are finding
Covering.
difficulty in the first compulsory question, I suppose,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
there you have an integration of all the provisions
Yes.
of,
Yes, ma'am.
I think all the substantive provisions are asked in that question. So you are
So-
finding it difficult. Is
Yes,
it so?
ma'am. So can you give some aid how we can able to solve that sums
Yes.
like any
See, Jagdish, what we
materials?
can do for that particular question now, in what Swati ma'am also told you earlier, that you need to have a thorough understanding or you have to have a good command over all these substantive provisions. That one question, in fact, justifies or it corroborates our claim that section 1 or section 2, sorry, that is the substantive provisions, they are very important. So if you memorize all the concepts, you understand them well, and you know their application. Even if you know their application in parts, that means small question is there and you have applied a particular provision. When it comes to a big question, you can easily apply them. Only thing is what you have to do is you have to see, first of all, what are the outward supplies which are given to you. If there could be a question where they have been separately segregated, that this is the outward supply, this is the inward supply. Because how do we compute minimum net GST payable? We take our output tax, that means tax payable on the outward supplies, and from that we reduce the input tax credit which is available. So for that, first of all, you need to segregate all your receipts or your information activities which are given to you in the question as the outward supplies and inward supplies. Out of outward supplies, then you make a table. So in exam also, while starting the question, you have to make two tables. One is computation of the output tax, that means tax payable on the outward supplies, as well as in that you will be having tax paid on some reverse charge entries could also be there. So tax paid on the under reverse charge. You have to pay tax under forward charge as well as there could be some reverse charge entry. So this is all outward towards outward supplies. Then we have the input tax, makes you it makes you feel that yes, this is not allowable. Then you don't have to take that, and you have to provide reasoning for every item which you are treating in the table. Even if you're not considering anything, reason should be provided for that. So that gives you input tax credit total. As regards the output tax, I told you, output tax is the tax payable on the outward supplies. So all the whatever tax you have to pay on the outward supplies, the rate applicable on them, whether it is an IGST, CGST, or SGST, you have to compute that in the table. And there could be, in fact, I told you that there could be some supplies which are though inward supplies, but since tax on them is payable under reverse charge, so therefore that tax will come along with the tax payable. You have to include the tax payable under reverse charge also in your table. Only thing is that from the tax payable under reverse charge, you cannot use ITC for setting off. So first of all, you will compute the output tax payable on outward supplies under forward charge. You will reduce your ITC amount, which you have computed in a separate table under working notes. You will reduce that and you will use the set off sequence. Yes, set of principles and sequence has to be followed. After that, whatever amount you have got of net GST payable, you have to reduce, you have to add to that the reverse charge. In fact, you can see any questions which are given to, you can see this time's MTP, mock test paper question, RTP question, that will give you an idea how to present that answer. Only thing is separate tables should be there for output tax and input tax, and then the set off of the two has to be shown.
As ma'am rightly told you, basically the catch here is that generally the 2 or 3 entries are there in which tax is payable under reverse charge. So what happens in the case of reverse charge is that although you can avail the input tax credit of the services in many cases, because services are used in the course or furtherance of business. But yes, while calculating the minimum net GST liability, what happens is that you include it in what you commit a mistake by including it in the output tax liability or something, or you
Sometimes students set
consider
off
it while
ITC
setting
from
off,
that, na?
yes.
From reverse charge supplies, whatever tax they have to pay on reverse charge supplies, they set off ITC
Yes.
also from. That is not the correct treatment. And so this way you can, I think you will be able to solve the questions. For in MTP, we'll be having one more series of MTP. You can solve questions from that. RTP is there. Past year MTPs, RTPs you can refer, and study material questions anyhow are there. But past year suggested answers and RTPs, MTPs you can refer. But only thing you have to consider the amendment portion, because there could be some amendments after that RTP or suggested answers are hosted. You have to take that into consideration.
One student has asked, ma'am, is it necessary to quote section number in the answer? So I will advise at intermediate level, section number is not expected from you. However, you can write the section number only if you are very, very sure that you are writing the right section number. I will advise you, quoting, misquoting the section number, basically, it will take away good marks from you. It will take away marks. So I will advise not to quote, then to misquote a section.
Yeah, definitely. Very well said, Swati, because you should not misquote the section numbers. And at this point of time, we generally urge the students to focus on the concepts and provisions first. You should be very thorough with the provision. When you're writing the reasoning, instead of writing the section for the reasoning, you should write the exact reason why you have done that particular treatment. So she very well said that you should not misquote the sections. You should try to be thorough, then only you should write it. Otherwise, write the provision in your own words.
You can write as per the provisions of GST law. Right. And Mr. Harish, let me give you the information that with the passage of time, we are day by day, we are increasing the case scenarios based MCQs at the portal. And moreover, you can also refer the revision test paper and the mock test paper, because in all these question papers, we have added the new integrated based case scenario. And moreover, from examination point of view, I will say, because, at the CA examination, it is not expected that any question will be pick and choose from the portal or any study material, or be it RTP or be it MTP. So your provision should be very clear. And even for the case scenario based questions, it is an integration of all the topics for the substantive as well as procedural aspects of GST. So if your concepts are clear, then there is no issue. You will be able to attempt this the case scenario based MCQ as well. And there is one advantage in case of case scenario based MCQ, that you don't have to give reasoning of that, and you will be able to save your time also. You don't need to give reasons for the answers. But yes, if your provisions are clear, if your fundamentals are strengthened, then you won't find any problem in solving the question.
Anshul has raised his hand, so Anshul, you can unmute yourself and ask the query.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम.
Good afternoon.
मैम हम जो मैम अंडरलाइन करेंगे मैम इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स को, उसे मैम ब्लैक पेन से करना है या पेंसिल से?
I think there is some instruction, Anshul. I'm not sure, but I think there's some instruction in the instruction card that you cannot use pencil in your examination. I hope I'm right. You can see the admit card instructions. So in that case, it's preferable that you should underline it from pen only.
The same
Okay.
color pen, I think, which you
That
which
would
you
be
are
preferable.
which is instructed to use. You can use the same color
That also
pen
you have to
for
check whether you are allowed to use 2-color pen or not. But I think pencil is not allowed. It was not there in our time, so that's what I could recall. Weightage mark supply chapter.
Weightage of marks supply chapter, basically, though we don't have the weightage chapter wise, it is the section wise. And what does section comprises of is, section comprises of the basically a combination of the substantive provisions and the procedural aspects. So all together, the substantive provisions carry the highest weightage. Basically, substantive provisions are covered in chapter 2 to 8, supply, time, value, input tax credit, charge of GST, exemptions, and place of supply. And these chapters carry the highest weightage.
Yes. So there's a section which has the combined weightage. Now we come to the non-supplies which have been notified via a circular. By this circular we are dealing because we have a question relating to that. So let me explain you this particular circular, which provides that whenever any conveyance is being transferred or moved from one state to another state. Why? Because suppose a person has a workshop in 2-3 states, and he has got some order for repair of a machinery in those workshops at a particular place. Suppose he's there in state A, in state B, he has got an order for repair of the machinery, and machinery is there in state B. So he has to carry all his spare parts, tools, equipments, etc. from state A to state B in a conveyance. So in the absence of any provision regarding this, these two are distinct persons. He has one workshop in state B, his one office is in state A. State A has all the equipments and this spare parts, everything placed in state A, but workshop is in state B where this has to be taken. So for that purpose, whatever conveyance he is using for carrying those spare parts and whatever spare parts, tools, etc. he's carrying in that conveyance, both. This movement of conveyance and spare parts between distinct persons, between two states, for repair and maintenance of a particular item will not be considered as supply. This has been specifically clarified by way of a circular, because if person is carrying his own conveyance from one state to another, you cannot say that he has actually supplied that conveyance or he has supplied that tools or spare parts, because somebody is asking the code.
Shreya is asking the meeting ID. Let me again quote you.
She's
Actually, it's a
once again
big,
mentioning the,
it's a big in number, so you won't be able to retain it. So I'm writing it. 86282437157.
you all can see this number and you can put that for joining the Zoom link.
And this, I think one of the student has asked that whether we need to quote the circular or notification number as it is in the examination. No, you are not expected to memorize the notification number or the circular number. You can write in your examination if the answer is given by way of a circular. It has been clarified by a circular. You need not memorize.
If you don't remember the circular number,
yes,
you should write the provision correctly.
Yeah.
So, so this particular question, the provision which I was discussing was that this is the supply, this is the movement which is not considered as supply. It has been specifically clarified. Okay, there are other notifications also which provides that any services provided by panchayat or municipality as their core functions which they are discharging, or any license which we have got for the liquor, any state which is giving liquor license to its persons, that will also not be considered as a supply. Now, based on this, we have a question, an MCQ quiz, which is MCQ quiz 4. In fact, we wanted to take MCQ 1, but I think we are running short of time. If time permits, we'll once again come to this MCQ and we will answer that. But for the timing, first of all, let us see on MCQ 4, which, Swati, you
okay. Basically, okay. This is based on the provisions which just now the ma'am has discussed with you. Which of the following activities are considered neither as supply of goods nor as supply of services? Option A, interstate movement of trucks between distinct persons for repair and maintenance. Option B, grant of mining rights by the government to business. Option C, services provided by an employer to the employee. And option D is lottery. So I am giving you 10 seconds and your time starts now.
First one is the right answer.
One request to all of you, please don't, please don't speak out the option, because in that case, many of you, who are just understanding or, memorizing at the backside of their mind, what is the right answer, they get confused.
Get prompted by your response. So
just raise your hand or write in your chat box.
Yeah. So I think Kritika and Tanu, they have got the answer. In fact, Shreya is still asking that there is no Zoom link available on website. Shreya, Zoom link is not there on website. It is on BoS mobile app notifications, under notifications tab. Hardik has answered. Now, so Kritika, you can unmute yourself. Now you can tell.
Ma'am, A.
Atanu?
Ma'am, I think C is the correct answer.
Okay, Realme C15, Qualcomm.
A, ma'am.
Okay, and so no more prompts. So now
we want more participation. Any more answers?
In fact, here also students are asking. So many students are answering as A, some are answering as C. In fact, this C point is more confusing. We have got some queries earlier also through mails for the students asking that C is the correct answer. We picked this MCQ because of that only. Now Swati will explain you why C is not correct.
C, Basically, in the examination also, this is the catch in the multiple choice questions and the case scenario based questions. Basically, the catch is that the options given to you, they are so similar that, you get confused whatever is the answer, and they seem similar to you, and generally the options arise from the facts of the case. So in here, the option C, which provides you services provided by an employer to the employee. Point to note here is that it is employer to the employee.
Yes.
Yes. In Schedule 3, neither a supply of goods nor a supply of services. It means we are talking about Schedule 3. And what is included in Schedule 3 is services provided by an employee.
So it is the other way around. It is the service provided by employee to employer, which is not a
Employer.
supply, which is included in Schedule 3. Here
Yeah.
we have given employer to employee. If you see para 1, para 2 of Schedule 1, it is a deemed supply. Even if employer does not charge anything from its employer, it provides any services or goods to its employee. Employer is providing any services or goods to its employee up to a value of 50,000, then it's not a supply. Otherwise, it becomes a supply without him charging anything. So this is what she's pointing out, that you have to read the everything very carefully. Schedule 3, we have just seen that it's mentioning employee to employer. Many of you missed out that point.
And one of the one query which we have received just now is, ma'am, can I write answers in my own language instead of writing an extract direct? So yes, you can very well write in your own language, but your answer should be based on the correct legal provisions. It should be backed by correct, it should be, based on the correct legal backing. You can very well write in your own words. Verbatim, language is not expected from you. You're not expected to quote each and every word as given in the Bare Act. You can write in your own simple words. But yes, the meaning of the law, the inherent provisions which are there, that should be depicted from your answer.
The meaning should not change, actually. Yeah. Sometimes we write in our own language and we feel that we have not been awarded marks because we wrote it in our own language. But it so happens that we tend to get the meaning changed. So that should not happen. The exact meaning should be clear, though in your own words, that you will get the marks there. Now, under third chapter is charge of GST. Here, I'm covering reverse charge mechanism and the composition levy to some extent. Reverse charge mechanism. Now, here also I will tell you that how you can memorize this reverse charge mechanism notification. It's a big notification. So some significant entries, how you can memorize, that I will cover here. First is, we have to see, that under reverse charge, what is reverse charge? Reverse charge is that under reverse charge, the recipient has to pay tax. Under GST law, person liable to pay tax is the supplier. One who is supplying the goods, he will take GST from the recipient and he will deposit with the government. In case of reverse charge mechanism, the liability to deposit the tax is casted on the recipient. Why is it done so? Because I told you that we should know the logic or intent behind every provision. We tend to memorize it in a better manner. Under reverse charge, why the responsibility has been cast on the recipient? Because generally, these are the cases where either the supplier is an unorganized sector, or it so happens the supplier escapes the taxation. So the government has casted the responsibility on the recipient that yes, you have to deposit the tax. Either supplier is a individual person or he is generally not registered, an unorganized sector, so he might not deposit the tax. So what the government has done, it has casted the responsibility on recipient that you have to pay tax in these, because the supplier might not pay the tax, but there are specified services for that. Reverse charge is there in goods also, but that is not there in your at intermediate level. That is not applicable. So we'll discuss only services. A list is there. Sometimes students find it difficult to memorize that list. So how one of the ways I am telling you, if that helps you, you can see it the recipient wise. We can classify in 3 categories. First is where the recipient is a business entity. So legal services provided by an advocate or an arbitral tribunal, or the government services. Government services, that means services provided by central government, state government, or local authority, or union territory to a business entity. Because in case of the government, this is which is not exempt. Any services provided by government to a business entity are not exempt. So they are taxable under reverse charge. So this way you can memorize that any legal services are there, or arbitral tribunal is there. In case of legal services, also the arbitral tribunal also, that business entity, its turnover, I'm discussing a provision of exemption side by side, because to have a joint understanding that legal services or services by arbitral tribunal are taxable only when they are providing services to a business entity whose turnover was greater than the threshold limit in the preceding financial year. So here, once the service becomes taxable, then that business entity has to pay the tax. Advocate will not pay the tax, arbitral tribunal will not pay the tax, and similarly, the government will not pay the tax. In government services, we have excluded, or what is excluded from the reverse charge provision is services provided by a ministry, services provided by Department of Post. And in fact, Swati would have explained you, I told you in this. Yes, Swati.
Basically, yes, one amendment is there. Along with the Department of Force, the Ministry of Railways has also been added. Ministry of Railways, Indian Railways. So wherever the reverse charge provisions or exemption notification is there, you can see that wherever Department of Post is there, it has been, the Ministry of Railways, Indian Railways has been added to it.
There.
So wherever the Department of Force is excluded from the services which are provided by the government, what does it mean is that basically these services are not taxable under reverse charge, or these are not exempt because the exception means that these are excluded from the relevant
Given
category of this provision. So if we are talking about exemption list, then that means that Department of Force and along with Ministry of Railways, that is not exempt. And if we are talking about reverse charge notification 13/17, then that also means Department of Force, there is reverse charge mechanism is not applicable.
Is not applicable on them. Okay. And apart from that, because this was an amendment and Swati is taking all the amendments. So she is today the in charge of all the amendments which we have to discuss. And apart from that, this reverse charge provision of government services is not applicable on services in relation to aircraft or vessel or transportation of goods or passengers. Then we have the second is the recipient is a registered person. Now, where the recipient is a registered person, three services are there. One is renting of immovable property. Another is renting of residential dwelling. Renting of immovable property has to be by the government. Now, one thing which I forgot to tell you in this entry was government services provided to a business entity. I told you three exceptions are there: Department of Post or Railways. Then we have the vessels or aircraft and transportation of goods or services. Another exception was renting of immovable property. Now, renting of immovable property provided to a business entity does not make it taxable under reverse charge. For that business entity or that person has to be registered. So that means it has to fall in this category. Okay. So the government, if it is providing any renting of immovable property services to a registered person, reverse charge will apply. Any residential dwelling, if it is being rented out to a registered person, reverse charge will apply. And security services, supply of security personals. If we are supplying security personals to a registered person, in these three cases, the reverse charge provisions will apply. That means recipient has to pay tax. Okay. I hope that is clear to you. Another interesting sector is banking or NBFC related services. Now, this will help you in recalling four reverse charge services. One is direct selling agent, recovery agent, business facilitator, and business correspondent. Any banking or NBFC company is there, then it requires the services from these persons. What each of them do? Direct selling agent. It brings business to the company. It solicits clients for taking the business banking products or services from the banking company. Similarly, business correspondent. Business correspondent also brings business to the client, but business correspondent and business facilitator, and similarly the business facilitator, they help in selling the business products, opening bank accounts, then giving extending loans, credits to the persons. Only thing is, business facilitator and business correspondent, they act in the rural areas. They generally operate in rural areas, whereas direct selling agent can operate in the urban area. It has a very broad spectrum, so it can go urban or rural, anywhere. But these two generally operate in the rural areas. So, and business correspondent has one more feature, that business correspondent can himself transact on behalf of the bank. It can himself open a bank account. So, that is the main difference here, that business correspondent can transact or sell the banking product on his own, whereas business facilitator and direct selling agent cannot do this.
So it means the scope is wider in case of business correspondent. He can transact also.
Yes. So very well explained by Swati that they have a wider scope, and this wider scope differentiates them from the business, from the others. Now, Once the business has been sought by the banking company, then comes into the picture the recovery agent. Now account has been opened, some credit has been extended. Now the person is not paying the money. So comes into picture the recovery agent. Now recovery agent has to recover that. So that he also provides the recovery agent services to the banking company. So all these services are under one umbrella. And here, what would be the recipient has to pay tax. Now, there is a small difference here, which I would be highlighting. First is DSA. Now, in front of DSA, I have mentioned I. In fact, how I have marked so much that this I is not that much visible. But this is IDSA. IDSA means individual DSA, individual direct selling agent. So a direct selling agent has to be an individual. For a reverse charge to be attracted, it should not be a body corporate. It should not be a partnership firm. If a direct selling agent is providing any services to a banking company, then banking company will pay tax. So the government has exempted direct selling agent, recovery agent from the this liability of paying tax. In fact, business facilitator also has been given this facility that in case you provide any facility, any service to a bank will pay the tax. You don't need to pay tax. Then, so recovery agent providing services to banking company, not reverse charge provisions will apply. In case of business correspondent, actually, business correspondent is quite an organized sector and he himself can pay tax. Business correspondents generally they employ their agents. So in this case, the entry says the agent of business correspondent if he provides services to a business correspondent. So this is in fact, you can say a difference here that here he is not providing services to bank or NBFC, though it is a banking related service. The agent of business correspondent, that would be a small level operator. So he provides services to business correspondent and business correspondent further provides it to banking company. So if business correspondent is providing services to banking company, reverse charge will not apply. But whatever services he is receiving from his agent, reverse charge will apply. So in case of DSA, individual has to be there. So you can remember it this way, IDSA, so that you can recall that yes, reverse charge provisions will apply. Okay. So these three categories are clear. Now we come to the next one. Now recipient is a body corporate. So in case of renting of motor vehicle service, where cost of fuel is included and the invoice for 12% rate has not been issued, in that case, the recipient should be a body corporate, then the renting reverse charge provisions will apply. Similarly, in case of director services. Now directors services, there is a clarification which is there, which provides that in case director is an employee, then the reverse charge provisions will not apply because we know any services provided by employer to employee are not a supply. So if director is providing any services to a company in the capacity of an employee, then it will not be taxable. But if he is providing in the capacity of a director, then reverse charge provisions will apply and company has to pay tax. So this is the reverse charge provisions will apply in these two cases. Next is GTA services. GTA is Goods Transport Agency services. In GTA services, if the recipient is any of these persons, now here also we have used an acronym to tell you that you can use such type of acronyms. Okay. B stands for body corporate, a society, factory, cooperative society, then a registered person, a partnership firm, or a casual taxable person. These in study material, we have referred them as specified recipient because we say that if any of these recipient is there, goods transport agency is providing these services of transportation of goods to these persons, then reverse charge provisions will apply provided. Condition is that the GTA should not have exercised the option to pay tax himself. In fact, now it has become a very residuary type of entry, though earlier it was very important. Earlier, we used to have the different conditions here. This option was not there with GTA that earlier it was not there that he could pay tax itself. But now, even if GTA wants to pay tax itself, then it can pay the tax in case of these recipients also. But if he has not opted to pay tax himself, he has not declared in the beginning of the year that yes, I will pay the tax, then these persons have to pay tax if these persons are the recipient. Now, in case GTA has not opted to pay tax himself, these persons are not recipient. That means a recipient is an unregistered individual, unregistered casual taxable person. then what will happen? In that case, that service becomes exempt. That you will read in case of the exemption from GST chapter. But just to refer, because some doubt might come in somebody's mind that if these recipients are not there and GTA has not exercised option to pay tax, then who will pay tax? Then tax is generally not payable in those cases. So in these cases, only tax is payable. But if these recipients are there and GTA has not exercised the option, then these persons have to pay tax. Sponsorship services, very important services. In fact, Swati will take in the next MCQ and she will explain you what is the catch in sponsorship services. Only thing I will disclose now is that sponsorship services, if they are provided to a body corporate or a partnership firm, then reverse charge is applicable. Now, she will explain you in next MCQ here. Insurance agent service. Insurance agent services will be taxable under reverse charge if they are provided to insurance, any person carrying on insurance business, because insurance agent is also a very operator at a very low level. So they have been exempted from the requirement of paying tax. Composition levy, just have a glance at the composition levy. Any person who has, any registered person who has his turnover up to 1.5 crore in the previous year and 75 lakhs in case of special category states except Assam, Himachal Pradesh and JNK. For Assam, Himachal Pradesh and JNK, limit is 1.5 crore only. So for that, for other special category states, this threshold limit has been reduced to 75 lakhs. So then they are eligible to opt for composition levy for goods. That means primarily they are providing goods up to a certain level, services they can supply. In case they are primarily supplying services, then the threshold limit has to be 50 lakhs. That means their turnover in the preceding year should be up to 50 lakhs. Then in the current year, up to 50 lakhs, they can opt for composition scheme. Same is the case for the goods also. Now, these are the conditions which have to be fulfilled. We'll quickly go through the main conditions that who are not eligible for composition scheme. So somebody who is, in fact, this is for goods as well as for services. Similar type of conditions are there that the supplier should not be engaged in making any supply of goods which are not leviable to tax. Now, we have a MCQ regarding that. That is why I'm explaining this point very in great detail. Now, when MCQ comes, all of you have to answer that correctly. So if a supplier is supplying goods which are not leviable to tax, now there is a difference between not leviable to tax and exempt. Some not leviable to tax. You're trying to use pen, no?
Actually, I was just trying to highlight that.
You can use it. So, not leviable to tax means that tax has not been charged in the first place. Whereas if I say that it has been exempted by way of a notification, any particular good or service has been exempted by way of a notification, that means, first of all, it became chargeable to tax, it became leviable to tax. Thereafter, a notification came that generally it is by, in case of services, it is 12 by 2017. In that notification, that service was specified and it became exempt by way of a notification. Similarly, goods can also be exempted by way of notification. So they are leviable to tax, but they are exempted by way of notification. Here, which type of persons are excluded? Who are making or supplying any goods or services which are not leviable to tax. So if I am supplying any goods which is not leviable to tax, then I will be which is not leviable to tax, I will be ineligible for composition levy. But if I am supplying any goods which is exempted through by way of a notification, then I will be eligible for composition levy. I should not be engaged in making any interstate outward supply, though I can receive interstate supplies, but my supplies should be within the state. Whatever outward supplies I am making, they should be within the state. And third one is that he should not be engaged in supplying any services through electronic commerce operator, though goods have now been allowed. This is an amendment which came last year, that the composition supplier cannot supply any goods, services through the electronic commerce operator, but goods he can supply through electronic commerce operator. He can list his goods on a e-commerce portal and he can supply those goods from there. Important point is here, manufacturer of ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, aerated waters, and all these items which have been mentioned here. Manufacturer. The word which has to be noticed here is manufacturer. So if somebody is a trader, will he be covered here? He will not be covered here. Okay. So if these items are being manufactured by a person, he cannot opt for composition levy. But if these goods manufactured by somebody else and I am trading in these goods, then I can opt for composition levy. Another point to be noted is that these goods are not there in case of the services. No goods or services have been notified for the purpose of composition levy for services. Here we have mentioned the composition scheme for services. So persons who are opting for composition scheme for services, for them, these goods or services have not yet been notified, but here he should not be a manufacturer. Then supplier should not be a casual taxable person or a non-resident person. And here, in case of goods, one more condition is there, which is that in case you have opted for composition levy, in current year, you cannot supply goods, you cannot supply services more than the value of the 10% of your turnover in the preceding financial year, or rupees 5 lakh, whichever is earlier. Suppose in the previous year, your turnover was 10 lakhs, 1 crore, and 10% of that will come to 10 lakhs. So 10 lakhs or 5 lakh, whichever is higher. Your threshold, your limit becomes 10 lakhs. So up to a turnover of 10 lakh, you can supply services also in the current financial year. Primarily, you have to supply goods. You can manufacture them, you can trade them, but you can supply services also to a certain level, and marginal supply of services is allowed. And that level is 10% of the previous year turnover or rupees 5 lakh, whichever is higher. And that becomes, in our example, it becomes 10 lakh rupees. So that is allowed here. That I think I rushed through the provision, but hope all of you might have done that earlier, so you can understand that. So let's take the quiz for chapter 3.
Okay, hope all of you are ready. One of the student is asking, ma'am, ये class कब तक चलेगी? The class time, I hope that you are
Scheduled
not
time is
getting
4
bored.
o'clock.
Scheduled time is 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Though we have planned a lot of content for you, a lot of technical content for you, but I think due to paucity of time, we will not be able to take the whole lot content which we have
We have
prepared.
scheduled a lot more
But
for
yes,
you,
but yes, we would like to, I think it will be, stress 10 to 15 minutes, but yes, we would like to, get it over.
and we'll see your response. If you are finding it interesting, then in next class we can
Yes, you
continue
may
with
give
the
your
main
feedback,
question.
because your feedback is really very
Yes.
helpful for us. So let's come to the query. Neelanchal Chamber of Commerce organized the business summit. Safal Private Limited, a manufacturer of ready-made garments, sponsored the summit and paid a sponsorship fee of rupees 1,20,000 to Neelanchal Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Godbole, an independent director of Safal Private Limited, provided the services worth rupees 50,000 to the company. The value on which Safal Private Limited is liable to pay GST is: option A is rupees 1,20,000, option B 1,70,000, option C 50,000, and option D is nil. Now I am waiting for your answer.
In fact, Swati, before you completed the question, we have got 2 hands raised. So I think provision is getting. In fact, Swati will explain sponsorship provision only after we get the answers.
Yes.
There is a catch, but if she explains it beforehand, you will not be able to appreciate it properly.
And in fact, that's why I am not using pen deliberately, so that so that you don't come to know. I would like to see your response, whether you are able to pay attention to the points.
How much you have
which should
understood,
be
we want to know. Then she'll tell you the exact provision. So I think we can start asking the answers. Here we are getting in chat box, we are getting responses. Somebody is mentioning
most of the
is the
D and B.
D and B are the most opted options. Yes, Kritika.
Ma'am, B.
B.
1,70,000.
Okay, Roshni,
Ma'am, B.
Mahmood,
Ma'am, B, ma'am.
Shreya.
Rupees 1,70,000.
Very good. All of you have answered.
Very good. A big clap to all of you.
Yeah.
And had you been present physically, I would have given chocolate to each one of you. Very good. We are happy to see your response, because obviously, we are also motivated by seeing your response that yes, students are studying, it gives pleasure to all of us. So let me go through it once again to all those students who have not studied it, who have not given response. Neelanchal Chamber of Commerce organized a business summit. Safal Private Limited, a manufacturer of ready-made garments, sponsored the summit. Sponsor किसने किया है? Safal Private Limited ने. And he had paid a sponsorship fee of rupees 1,20,000 to Neelanchal Chamber of Commerce. अब सबसे पहले ये बताओ कि इस केस में सर्विस प्रोवाइडर कौन है एंड सर्विस रिसीवर कौन है? Very quick answer, please, because we are,
Again, Shreya and Vivo V2253 have raised their hands. So Shreya
Yeah.
first.
Who is service provider in this case?
Vivo V2253.
Safal, ma'am.
Service provider. Okay.
Yes.
Kritika,
Safal service provider.
we are talking about service provider. Okay. Okay. Realme C15.
मैम नीलाचल चैम्बर सर्विस
नीलांचल
प्रोवाइडर है और
हम्म,
सफल रिसिपिएंट है।
महमूद,
Safal, ma'am. Safal Private Limited.
निखिल, I think Nikhil is not able to unmute. Is it so, Nikhil?
Ma'am, Nilanchal Chamber is a service provider.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, now I think
Swati,
let's come to the answer.
Because we are getting answers in chat box also and they are answering correctly. Ravi, Sudhanshu. they are
Nilanchal is
answering
service
correctly.
provider. Most of the students have
Hmm.
mentioned. First of all, let's understand the general concepts. सर्विस प्रोवाइडर और रिसीवर बेसिकली हम लोग कैसे आइडेंटिफाई कैसे करते हैं? जो सर्विस रिसीव करता है, वन हु इज रिसीविंग द सर्विस, that person has to pay to the provider. Okay, let's say मैंने आपको I have provided some service to Shifali ma'am. Now I have provided the service to Shifali ma'am, so मैं तो पे नहीं करूंगी ना उनको, एक तो सर्विस भी प्रोवाइड करूँ और फिर पे भी करूँ, दोनों चीजें तो नहीं होंगी,
नहीं होंगी, तो ये
दोनों
आपको
चीजें नहीं
कंफ्यूजन
होंगी।
यहाँ पे
तो
नहीं।
सर्विस रिसीवर ही जो है द सर्विस रिसीवर पेज टू द सर्विस प्रोवाइडर सिंपली। So here Safal Private Limited is a manufacturer of ready-made garments, sponsored the summit. Safal ने sponsor किया है summit को and paid a sponsorship fee. तो सफल ने स्पॉन्सरशिप फीस को पे किया है। तो सर्विस प्रोवाइड किसने की है?
नीलांचल चैम्बर।
नीलांचल ने, और सफल इज द सर्विस रिसीवर, क्योंकि वन हु रिसीव्स द सर्विस ही ओनली पेज टू द सर्विस प्रोवाइडर, राइट? जिसने सर्विस रिसीव की है वो कंसिडरेशन रिसीव नहीं करेगा, दैट पर्सन हैज टू पे टू द सर्विस प्रोवाइडर, राइट? सो when just now abhi the ma'am has explained you the reverse charge notification number 13 by 2017, what it says was sponsorship fee is taxable under reverse charge provisions if it has been provided to either a body corporate or a partnership firm, and here the service receiver is Safal Private Limited, a body corporate, so it is taxable under reverse charge. Now coming to the next service, independent director of Safal Private Limited provided the service worth rupees 50,000 to the company. Here, the person is an independent director. So, what does an independent director here means? That that person has not provided the service in the capacity of an employee.
Yes.
Because just now we have gone through the Schedule 3 of the CGST Act, and Schedule 3 says that any service which has been provided by an employee to the employer comes under the purview of Schedule 3, which specifies the activities which will be neither treated as supply of goods nor as supply of services. So this service has not been provided in the capacity of an employee. So independent services has been provided to the company. So the same is also taxable under reverse charge. So the value on which Safal Private Limited is liable to pay GST. Safal Private Limited is liable. Why he is liable? Because he is the receiver of service. And the value will be rupees 1,20,000 plus 50,000, which comes out to be 1,70,000. So all of you have answered the B correct.
In fact, it's a very important point which he has underlined. स्पॉन्सरशिप सर्विसेज में सबसे ज्यादा कंफ्यूजन होती है बच्चों को, और सबसे ज्यादा एरर्स भी वही होते हैं, क्योंकि अभी हमने भी देखा, जैसे आप सब लोगों ने आंसर किया, तो मेनी ऑफ यू कंसिडर्ड सफल प्राइवेट लिमिटेड टू बी सर्विस प्रोवाइडर, क्योंकि ऐसा लगता है कि वो स्पॉन्सरशिप फी दे रहा है तो वही स्पॉन्सरशिप सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड कर रहा है, जबकि अदरवाइज है। इसमें वो स्पॉन्सरशिप फी दे रहा है, उसको स्पॉन्सरशिप सर्विसेज मिल रही हैं, उसका नाम वहाँ बोर्ड पे आएगा या कहीं पैम्पलेट होगा या कहीं पे डिस्प्ले किया जाएगा, होर्डिंग्स वगैरह जो भी वहाँ पे एग्जीबिशन में होंगे, समिट में होंगे, तो वो उसको सर्विसेज मिल रही हैं, उसको स्पॉन्सरशिप सर्विस मिल रही है। पूजा, और इनफैक्ट उससे पहले श्रेया यू कैन अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ एंड आस्क योर क्वेरी। अभी और भी लोगों ने किया था हैंड रेज, अगर आपको है क्वेरी तो दोबारा आप हैंड रेज कर दीजिएगा। यस श्रेया, यू कैन अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ।
Ma'am, I want to ask how to recall all the exemptions from of GST.
ऑल द
Exemptions of GST.
एग्जाम्पशंस की आप list तो बहुत बड़ी है. I know that it's difficult to memorize all the exemptions.
Yeah.
We have tried to segregate them into broad
Categories.
20-25 categories. की healthcare की सारी इकट्ठे, agricultural related are at one place, education related are at other, legal services.
I think the here the one strategy is repeated reading only.
I
would
think
say.
that will help you.
Yes, because the list is so long now. I don't think if you will be able to make any mnemonics like for 20 to 25 and then more services, like how many mnemonics or the
You have exact
anything-
exclusion inclusion also there, na? So if
Yes.
you make the mnemonics, that will only help you to memorize the service which is exempt. But
Yes.
what is excluded from that particular entry, what is included, that you might miss. So that is important, that if you can repeated reading has to be done.
Repeated reading,
And
repeated. If you will
you
go
can
through
refer
this
Saransh
chapter,
also for
yes,
that.
you
I
can
think
go through
Saransh
Saransh.
has
And please go through this chapter. I will say bare minimum 3 times. Then automatically you will see that many services you are able to memorize them. You are able to retain the services.
Shreya, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am,
Okay,
I
you
also
were
want to
asking
ask
query.
that MCQ and case scenario booklet available on BoS portal are relevant for May 23 and November 23 exam. So are they also applicable for
Okay.
May 24 exam?
Booklet you are referring?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Swati.
You can refer the portal because here we are uploading the case scenarios regularly, and we are trying to upload the case scenario with the amendments, and any case scenario which we have even uploaded earlier, we will try to update it if any amendment is there. In that case also, we will try to re-upload it. And but yes, you can refer the case.
We have a
scenarios which
dedicated
you refer to
MCQ practice portal. Where we are uploading MCQs as well as case scenario based MCQs there. You can practice from there. It gives you a test and you have to appear for that. There you will get many questions to practice.
One of the student has asked, ma'am, time management in tax paper. Yes, we will touch upon this. We will touch upon this query in length, I will say. This is the most sought after query. We have got one more session dedicated for you. And since now it has already been 4 p.m. Now
Exam
touching
related
this,
tips we'll cover in next session. In fact,
will
whatever
cover.
technical topics we have left today, we'll cover that day. Vivo V2253 is asking some query. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am, I have one query. Hello.
Yes,
Ma'am,
yes.
can a composite or registered dealer person sell its goods through ECO on interest or interest rate?
Yes, now he is allowed to sell his goods through an ECO. Earlier he was not allowed, but after this amendment which came last year, now an composition supplier can opt for composition levy and he can supply goods through ECO also. He can list his goods on
He
portal.
can sold interest rate.
Sorry, please repeat.
Ma'am, he can sold his goods interstate or intrastate both, or only he can sold his goods.
No, he can sell only intrastate. Other conditions he has to fulfill. So even if he is selling through ECO, he has to ensure that whatever sales he is doing, he is selling within the state. That has to be ensured. Other conditions have to be abide by.
Okay.
This amendment is already covered in the chapter registration, I guess. And it says, because earlier what happens is that what is the intent behind this amendment is that earlier, the people who were opting, in case of goods, I think through ECO, they were, secluded because a person who is supplying services through ECO, they were allowed they were allowed. So this amendment has been made so as to, keep both the persons at the same level. You can refer the chapter registration, I guess.
In fact, we will like to extend our session by 15-20 minutes so that we want to cover some more points. But any of you who has a problem, you can let us know. We want to know that you wish us to continue this session or we should, because we can wind up here also. Roshni, please unmute yourself and ask your query.
Ma'am, through ECU, you are saying that we can supply the services of goods if it is the previous state, but in most of the time we cannot trace that it is from that if we are supplying the goods outside the states. How to do this, ma'am?
The person who is opting for ECO, how can he ensure that?
Yes, ma'am.
That is something very practical. I think you have to put a check on the portal, or that has to be seen by the electronic commerce company only, that how they can ensure it. But that is for sure that other conditions have to be abided by. So this relaxation has been provided. I understand that it covers a very small number of suppliers, because anybody who is selling through an electronic commerce operator, any portal, this e-commerce companies, then he must be actually wanting a greater coverage throughout the country. But in this
One
case, he has to
thing,
ensure.
one thing I would like to add, I think I may be wrong, but I feel that the intent behind this is that because the unregistered persons whose aggregate turnover is up to a threshold limit, they are now permitted to supply goods through ECU. So what happens, like if you make an interstate supply, you know that in case of interstate supply, there is a requirement of compulsory registration. So this benefit has been given, but like people who are, who have just started or they're at a very low level, like they're unregistered. If you are, if you're transacting your business at a large level, then you obviously your threshold limit of turnover will increase. Then you need to take that registration. But in this case, the persons is generally unregistered, so their turnover is up to a threshold limit. And if for that case, they are because in case of interstate, they are mandatorily required to take registration. This is the reason I feel that only intrastate supply is required, is allowed.
We have got positive response from many students that we can continue with session for 15-20 minutes.
Ma'am, hope I am correct in
yes, Swati. Now, this question is being hosted
Ma'am,
here
I
for
have
quite a
one more
long time.
query.
So I think, sorry, yes.
I have one more query, ma'am, related to the a residential property given to a registered person for residential purpose.
Yes,
Is it
yes.
liable for GST or is it exempt, ma'am?
See, there is a specific exemption entry which covers that if any residential property which is being used for the purpose of residence. Now, these words, for the purpose of residence, used for the purpose of residence. Residential property, residential dwelling has to be rented for the purpose of residence to a unregistered person. Then this will be exempt. First thing. Okay, I hope everybody understood that a residential dwelling which is being rented out for a residential purpose to an unregistered person is exempt. Further, there is a proviso which provides that in case of a sole proprietorship firm, if a residential property has been, residential dwelling has been rented to a sole proprietor in his individual capacity, not as that property has not been rented to the sole proprietorship firm, it has been rented because in case of sole proprietor, the owner and the firm is one and the same. So the firm has not taken that property on rent. The sole proprietor in his individual capacity on his own has taken that property for residence purpose on rent, then that will also be exempt. Otherwise, if any partnership firm, any body corporate is taking that particular property on rent for its employees, generally they take big companies, the banks, they take property on rent for their employees, for the residence of their employees, now it has become taxable because they must be registered. And if that property is being rented out to a registered person, that becomes taxable. And after that, they come to the reverse charge entry. We had just discussed the reverse charge entry, something which becomes taxable. Now, in that case, if the property is being rented out to a registered person, which that service is not exempt, then it comes to reverse charge entry and tax has to be paid by the registered person. But in reverse charge entry, there is a catch. It does not mention the words for the purpose of residence. So with this entry, what has actually become is that any residential dwelling, even if it has been rented out for commercial purposes, you have a house, but there is a small shop which is there in that house on the lower floor, ground floor, and you have rented out it to a registered person, then the tax has to be paid under reverse charge, though you have not rented out that residential dwelling for a residence purpose. But reverse charge entry covers both residence as well as commercial purposes. Okay, now this question is there. So we are expecting answers from all of you. I think it has been there for a long time and you all must have read this in the meantime. So please answer. We have started getting answers on the chat box already.
Students are on quiz 4. I was moving to quiz 5.
Okay. Because we have not yet got the answer. Okay. So we should start asking the answers now because it will take time.
Yeah. Quiz 4. A registered person dash is not eligible for composition scheme even though his aggregate turnover does not exceed rupees 1.5 crore in preceding financial year. Pan masala, A. B. Aerated water. C. Receiving any interstate inward supply of goods. D. Is making supply of goods exempted by way of notification.
Okay, Kritika.
Ma'am, B. Manufacturing aerated waters.
Okay. Shreya?
Ma'am, answer is C, interstate inward supplies of goods. As composition dealer person are not allowed to do interstate supplies, and all other are exempted from, sorry, not taxable under GST. So
Okay.
the answer is
Shreya, I will.
Okay, Shreya, because we are already running out of time, so we will just conclude and tell you the
Sure.
right answer. Shreya, what you have
You have missed a point.
picked up on from a statement is that the composition supplier is not allowed to do interstate supplies. But just pay attention whether he is not allowed to do interstate outward supply or interstate inward supplies. Composition supplier should not be involved in making any interstate outward supplies of goods, but there is no bar on receiving any sort of interstate inward supplies of goods in case of composition scheme. So he can very well receive the interstate inward supplies of goods. He is not allowed to make outward supplies in interstate.
That is the catch here.
Yeah. And the right answer is B, manufacturing aerated waters.
We have got lot many correct answers. In fact, those of you who are still raising hands, you must be correct, I suppose,
Yes.
because you know the provision in chat box also, but still we are getting A also as correct answers. Few students have mentioned A as correct. It is trading. So please note that here it is trading, not manufacturing. While when I was going through the conditions which are there for composition levy, manufacture of these specified items was prohibited, but trading was allowed. Similarly, in option D, here it is mentioned as B. It's there in your notebook also in study material, but it's actually option D. So it says making supply of goods exempt by way of notification, which is not the correct answer because you as composition dealer is prohibited only from supplying the goods not leviable to tax. But here goods have been exempted by way of notification. So that means they are first leviable to tax and subsequently they were exempted by way of notification. So that person is eligible. So only bar is on manufacture of notified goods, which is manufacture of aerated waters. Divyanshi, you have any query or you were answering the option, this
Okay,
quiz?
let's take one more quiz.
I think she had that answer. She was giving the answer. You can proceed with it.
Okay. I think, ma'am, we should conclude at after this. This is the last quiz 5, and if there is any relevant query, which is for you, then we will take. Otherwise, we will conclude the session. Ma'am, can we solve GST Part B first in exam? I think you can solve. Still, I will say that you can raise your query in examination also, but I think you're free to solve
you
any
can solve
part.
it.
You can
You
solve
get
any
separate
part.
sheets, na? There are separate sheets for section A and
So it's
section
up
B.
to you, whatever you feel that you are more proficient in it, or you would be able to solve it with more confidence. It will enhance your confidence. Yet that you can take up first in the
Separate sheets
examination.
are there. You can start with anything. I think there's not any ban or foundation for that.
Yes, ma'am. Stepwise marking is there. We will touch this point in detail in the next session. Yes, you are always advised to write any answer in the stepwise, because yes, stepwise marks is there. It is enough to give reasons in 2 lines. You can give reason in whether it is in 2 lines or 4 lines or even in one line. That the length of the answer is not important. What is material? What is important is that your answer should be corroborated with the correct legal backing. That is more important. Number of lines is not the criteria.
And it should be in commensuration with the marks which the question carries. If it is a 2-marker question, then you don't need to write too much. If it is a 5-marker question, you need to write accordingly.
Yeah.
So
your
provision
answer should be
correct.
commensuration with the marks
and
allocated.
marks which it
allocated
carries
to the
are
question.
important.
Yes.
So,
Is wrong when we get marks note is wrong. If your answer is wrong, how to write answer, please, we will take all these your queries in the next session, because that session will be schedule, I think will be scheduled near your examination. So we prepare accordingly, so that in that session your obviously you must be have gone through your preparation part and the revision part, so that these sessions will be more relevant for you in that session.
In the meantime, you can read the quiz question so that we can take anything possible.
Quiz time 5. Aladdin Electronics is engaged in intra-state supply of air conditioners and has an aggregate turnover of rupees 90 lakh in the preceding financial year. In the current financial year, it wishes to opt for composition scheme under section 10(1) and 10(2). It will start providing services of repairing of air conditioner also from 1st April of current financial year. Aladdin Electronics can provide services up to the value of dash to continue availing benefit of composition levy in the current financial year. And the options are option A, rupees 5 lakh, Option B, rupees 4.5 lakh. Option C is 10 lakh. And option D is 9 lakh. Your time starts now.
And we have already started getting the answers in chat box also. Hands are also being raised. I think this time we can allow everybody to speak together because you all can unmute and tell us the answer because it is very easy question.
Yes.
So all of you can
9 lakh.
tell the answer.
8.
Option A, ma'am.
5 lakh.
9
Option.
lakh, ma'am. That
Please
is
tell your
D.
name also, when you got, so that one who says the right answer, that
Ma'am,
person
बोला
can-
है option A.
Okay, so still we are getting option A as answers. Any different answer? Apart from A?
Yes, ma'am. It's 9 lakh. That is
9
D.
lakh. Who's there?
It's Atanu.
Okay, Atanu. So,
9 lakh.
yes.
9 lakh, ma'am.
9 lakh. Who's there?
Shweta, ma'am.
Shweta. Okay. So we have got two answers, option A and option D. That is 9 lakh. Actually, it is mentioned B here, but it's D.
Yeah, it has been same has been corrected in the web hosted copy. There's a typographical error that 9 lakh. B is mentioned against the option 9 lakh.
Now let's see what is the correct answer. In fact, in chat box also we have got many correct answers from Hardik, Harish, Sudhanshu, Ravi Kumar. So Swati, please.
Yes.
correct
Very good. The right answer is D, which is wrongly mentioned here as B. It is a right answer is D only, rupees 9 lakh. Because just now we have gone through the provisions that the limit up to which you can avail the services in the financial year for the benefit of composition levy. Services for composition levy is the limit is 10% of turnover in the preceding financial year or rupees 5 lakh, whichever is higher. Okay. Whenever you try to memorize any sort of limits, any sort of, due dates or all, please pay attention to whether it is given whatever is higher, whatever is earlier, or whichever is later or lower, because that is more important. Because sometimes what happens generally is we remember the dates or the provisions, but we forget whether it is lower, higher, earlier. So please pay attention
Generally,
to
student
those
commit
points also.
mistake in that.
Yes.
Instead of higher, they consider it to be lower, and then the answer goes wrong. In
Bec-
fact, A who have
Yes,
answered, they
yes,
must have
they
answered
must
on
have
the basis
answered
of
on
that
this
only.
basis only. So 10% of turnover is rupees 9 lakh or rupees 5 lakh, whichever is higher. So the correct answer comes to D, rupees 9 lakh.
So any of you have any more queries? Because with this, we come to this chapter also. In fact, place of supply, I would cover just only the significance of place of supply.
This
Why-
chapter is new, so ma'am is
Yes.
trying to touch upon this because anyone who is from the earlier attempt for this chapter is new for that person, and he or she need to pay special attention to it.
Definitely. All the chapters which have been introduced for the first time, they are equally important. And why they have been introduced? Because they are very important to understand the overall scheme of GST law. So place of supply, as we did when we started the session, we discussed that GST is a destination-based consumption tax. So tax is to be levied where the goods or services are actually consumed. Now we need to determine that where the services have actually been consumed. That is what the place of supply is. Place of supply is the place where the supply is consumed, because we need to levy tax at that particular place. And we have to determine that to which state the revenue will accrue. So we need to know revenue accrues to the state who receives the goods or who receives the services. So we should know exactly that where these services have been or goods have been consumed. In case of goods, it is comparatively easier because we can see goods moving from one state to another. We can say, yes, exactly here the goods have been reached and they have been consumed. So you can determine that, yes, this is the place of supply. But in fact, for that also, there are some complex cases. So they have been covered by the law. In case of services, it is comparatively difficult to determine or ascertain that
Yes,
which
ma'am,
is the
because
place of
services
supply.
we cannot see their intangibles, so how it must be very
That is the
difficult.
reason. So if somebody is
We
providing
cannot see any
services,
sort of movement where the services are going and all, because a person sitting in the office, we can, obviously we can supply services to anybody. So obviously
sitting
it will be
here, we can
different.
supply services throughout the world. In fact, across the world, we
Yes,
can
yes,
provide services. So that is also possible. So is to exactly determine where they have been actually consumed, it becomes difficult.
So ma'am, is it the difficult topic?
No, it's not a difficult topic. In fact, for students of intermediate, we have kept it very simple. We have not covered the cross-border transactions. We have not covered the cases where countries other than India are covered. We have covered only those cases where recipient and supplier are in India, both for goods as well as for services. So we have kept it very simple. For goods, if you will see, the provisions are very limited because the cases are not very complex. But for services, there are not many subclauses which are there, which provides that in these cases, what would be the place of supply. In case of goods, bill to ship to is a bit different case which you should focus on. But it determines the jurisdiction where the tax revenue will actually reach. And that is why the place of supply is so important. In earlier scheme, we were not having place of supply. But over the years, we felt that yes, place of supply should be there incorporated in our scheme to have the student a holistic understanding of the entire GST law, to have the understanding of the GST scheme properly. And that is why we introduced it this time. So we have section 10 and section 12 in our syllabus. Section 11 and 13 will be discussed at the final level. And that is why it is comparatively easier for the intermediate student. We have quizzes also there. You can refer that. So I think if any of you have any queries, we'll wait for 1 more minute so that we can answer your queries. Any query on chat? Is there?
No, ma'am, we have answered all the queries.
Okay. So Dhanshu is asking what was the threshold for other students can also raise their hand and ask their queries. I'm taking a query from the chat box. So Dhanshu is asking what was the threshold for RCM in legal and arbitral services? It is the threshold limit, Sudhanshu, was that the business entity who is receiving the services should have an aggregate turnover of less than the threshold limit. Threshold limit is 20 lakhs for the services, you know. So his turnover should be less than 20 lakhs in the preceding financial year. Then this year, the legal services which he is receiving or the arbitral tribunal services, they will be exempt from GST. Okay. I think we have taken all the other queries. That common mistakes done by the students, Preeti, we'll take in next session. We'll cover that properly because that session will be somewhere near to your exams. So you will be prepared for your exams. And I can request all of you to pay attention during these 42 days. You have to stay motivated, stay dedicated as you are till that time, till this time. So keep your patience and perseverance going on. And those who are lagging behind a bit, this is the time to buck up and gear up yourself for the forthcoming 42 days. Make a schedule, stick to it, and have proper diet, proper sleep. But do study. Don't waste this time in any case. Or even though you have not started these studies, then I would suggest you start studying. You know that for taxation paper, you have
Because
got 2
it's
extra
never
days.
too late. And I will say, as ma'am told you in the, initially that you have to move from better to best.
Definitely. So I hope you like this session. And I think no more queries are there. So with this, we come to an end of this session. You can write your queries through BoS app also.
And you can your feedback also, because that is important for us.
We'll love to have your feedback. We'll
Yeah.
love to get the areas where we can improve and love the
Yes.
areas where you find them interesting. We would like to know them. So with this, we come to end. And Sudhanshu, you had asked your query, but I had already answered your query.
Sudhanshu actually has asked if ma'am, these sessions is helpful and please also take one more session. Yes, Sudhanshu, we will be taking one more session.
We'll take
Don't
that
worry, we
session,
will be
don't
taking
worry.
one more session. And yes, all those aspects like relating to examination which have been left, they will be covered in the next session.
Shreya is also saying something. Yes, Shreya.
Ma'am, when will you be conducting next session?
That will be in the next month, hopefully.
Schedule will
maybe
be hosted on the website, Shreya. You will get to know the exact date. Then you can join. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So I hope no more queries are there. So with this, we come to an end of this session. Thanks for the patient listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.